Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Frank's Retirement Home Canes season opener, where we're kicking it off right now with the Death Dealers versus the Odin's Headhunters. You have me, Zach Vexel. Joining me is the Divine Ape. How are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Zach. I'm excited to see some Smite because the most exciting thing about time right now is that no one actually is sure of what's like super good. So it's interesting to see like the direction each team's gonna go in.
The best part, no SPL yet. We're not seeing any SOC, SEC, SPL, anything like that. None of these professional tournaments. All we can do is just watch some streams here and there. So seeing what these teams cook up, it's the most exciting part about the start of the season. And these between phase games that we have on our leagues. So looking at some of these bands that we have coming through already, I'm not really surprised. We're seeing some stuff linger in from the previous season, but
Mm.
then we're also seeing some stuff come in that's a little bit newer, especially that Bake Kujira band over on the side of the Odin's Headhunters. That god is a menace.
A menace, and the way his kit works is so interesting. He does damage based off his protections, so you just become like the tankiest character that's also able to trade without having to slot in those damage items. He just makes him so tough to deal with at basically any point in the game outside of the first like 5 minutes. So it's smart to just get him off the table. Just do not want to be playing against that god.
Yeah, I was watching a couple pro players sitting there and playing them, and they were saying the exact same. We don't want this god. We don't want to play this god. If you're not wanting to play the god, you have to ban this god. He is just such a simple kit, such a simple design of the kit too, but
Mhm.
man, is he frustrating to play with? Is he frustrating to play against? He just feels like he kind of does everything right now. Powering through some of these other bands, we do see the global ultimates with the Thor and the Athena still lingering in from the previous season. I still think that Athena is very potent pick. The Kukulkan and Thoth, a lot of clear, a lot of poke, a lot of secure potential with those mage picks. And the Achilles has really risen up as of recent. Those buffs kind of helped him out quite significantly. But what I am seeing are those auto attacking solo laners still prevalent, still sitting here. They kind of went untouched right now so far in the first phase. That Bellona, that Osiris, even the Amaterasu, kind of up there, but definitely nowhere near those top two.
Yeah, what Achilles does really well is he plays into those auto attackers, like solo laners, like really well because he can
Hachiman.
just sort of like kite them with his longer range abilities, and he scales well into the late game. So smart to just get him off the table. As we see a Hachiman first pick, in my opinion, Hachiman is the strongest god in the game right now. Outside of Bake Kujira, of course, he just brings so much to a team, as well as he is just so safe in lane, and he scales so well throughout the game that it's such a smart first pick.
You mean that being crit from a quarter of the lane's length for, anywhere between 800, 900 is not. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the god's
Bologna.
a little bit too
Yeah.
much in most
Yeah.
instances.
Ganesh.
Totally agree.
Bologna gets
Hachiman.
hovered. Bologna gets slammed in. Ganesha gets hovered. Ganesha gets slammed in over here for the Death Dealer's side. Okay, we were talking about the Bologna. This pick that can kind of just get in your face. It can jump on top of you, apply a significant amount of pressure. She's got block stash. She's got that disarm on top of it, too. And the bludgeon for the clear. Just a really good all around pick. And the Ganesha, just this support who can kind of sit in the back, and a god who feels like
Sobek.
you don't have to play the game to be playing the game.
Nike.
You could just be
Yeah.
standing in the back, not doing much of anything, and still contributing absolutely everything. The god's got a silence, he's got the grab, just chilling in the back, and then that ultimate to just separate a team fight, applying the slow, applying the shred. Huge, huge pickup, I think, for the Death Dealers. And it's going to open up a lot of potential because they got some really good team fight right now. Meanwhile, over on the other side, I see this Sobek. Okay, the Nike's one thing, but I see this Sobek, and in my opinion, one of the best supports in the game right now. I'm looking Sobek, I'm looking Ares, I'm looking Ganesha, I'm looking Athena. Seeing that Sobek with the Hachiman, though, we're applying pressure in this dual lane. We're shoving it down and we're running it down. I got to be a little bit worried if I'm the Death
Agni.
Dealer's dual lane.
Yeah, I'm interested in what ADC they go here. Obviously, it's going to be Sobek Hachiman into Ganesh. I think Ganesh does a really good job of sort of staving off like the amount of dive that Sobek and Hachiman are going to do. Like they probably won't be dashing in too often with Sobek just like standing on his carry. But I'm interested to see like who. There's really not a hugely like safe hunter to really choose into Hachiman Sobek besides Jing Wei. So I think that's probably where they're going to go. But you sort of give up a ton of pressure that way. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go. I like the Agni pick. I think he does really well into like the Hachiman Soba because he can poke from so far away. And if that Ganesh is standing on top of him, there's no worse feeling than trying to dive someone like Agni and you finally get in, and then Ganesh is on top of you, silencing you. So it's really smart top three picks from both teams, I think.
Yeah, and not to mention you have that Rainfire to secure objectives. You have
Hmm.
probably one of the best range CC multi-target CCs that a carry can have, a carry pick can have, and I think that's just a phenomenal thing. And when you're pairing it up with the team fight potential of the Ganesha and the Bellona already,
Hmm.
a little bit
Ao
scary.
Kwang.
And I'm gonna say a little bit scary, but I think I see something a little bit scarier, and that is this Ao Kwang pick. And I want to say, as a jungle player, that that is the number one jungler in the game right now.
Wow, yeah, I mean, Ao Kwang, I mean, him getting past first couple ban phases is actually interesting. I do think he's super strong. I think Nike and Sobek probably have like a good time, sort of like peeling him. But if Ao Kwang gets going, I don't really know what they're gonna be able to do about him. He's just such a strong character once he like gets scaling towards like the later stages of the game.
You get that lifesteal online. I don't think
Hmm.
anybody is able to take any sort of trade against you. Doesn't matter if you have int heal. Doesn't matter if you get that horrific. The god just gets on top of you, sticks to you, shreds you down, and then he's got an execute. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
at the end of all of that, you get past all of his damage, all of his lifesteal, all of everything that he has, and then he's got an execute. Okay, well let me just take any tank you have up and just remove them from the fight, or even just grabbing somebody, sending them up into the sky and removing them from the
Hmm.
fight,
A
preventing them from dealing
Wheelix.
damage for just a couple seconds. That couple seconds of lockdown can really cause a difference, especially on somebody who has an impactful ult. Like, oh, I don't know,
Poseidon.
maybe this Poseidon that just got hovered over on the side of the Odin's Headhunters and locked in.
Yeah, or even just like throwing it like for setup. I mean, you have Agni on your team. It's like if someone goes in the air and Agni can drop a couple bombs, get himself set up, and they're just dead, even if you don't get the execute. So definitely really a heads up pick for the Ao Kwang. I think Poseidon does a good job. If Ao Kwang sort of goes on you, you can just blow him up with the Kraken. So I think that's a smart counter pick. And we didn't really talk about the Willix getting locked in. With there being a ton of knockups with the Willix, like the Nike Jump and Sobek Pluck. Those are some safe setup for the Willix to potentially get an early pick, even if they're like in a 5v5.
The Wheelix, I think, is up there too as one of our best ability-based assassins. Who's kind of, well, she's a little bit ability-based, a little bit attack speed-based with her auto
Mhm.
attack in her kit, because that ultimate is insane. Okay,
So
and I
good.
think extremely undervalued. And it's going
Agreed.
how the Odin's Headhunters utilize this Awilix pickup is going to determine a lot of how this game is going to go. Because if you're utilizing it for more than just getting those plucks, huge. In the late game, you get 40% CDR. It's got like a 40-second cooldown. And to have a stim like that on a 40-second cooldown is atrocious. You're running up to any objective, you're just pressing that forward button, you're shredding it down with your team. You have a Kraken on top of it too. And just the Poseidon base kit in general. I'm seeing objective based team comp right now from the Odin Hunters, and I'm seeing team fight from all hell from Death Dealers.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting. This is what's nice about this meta right now of us not knowing which is better because typically you'll see that, oh, we're in like an objective based kind of meta, so it's clearly in Odin's Headhunter's favor, or you'd say it's definitely a big scrappy fighting meta, so it's in Death Dealer's favor. But we really don't know, so this is going to be like really interesting to see. It just comes down to who's going to play their style better. Um, and and I don't know. I really have no idea which one's better. I think in the early game we need to see Odin's Headhunters sort of like group as five, maybe on like on beacons and like early Gold Furies. Because if not, Death Dealers could like if they make it scrappy and they start winning all these fights, then it won't matter if you have an objective based comp.
Yeah, you have those objective based comps, but if you're not able to get to that point where you're doing the objectives, you're
Mhm.
getting on top of those beacons, that Pyromancer, that Gold Fury, generally all tends to happen around that same time once those beacons start spawning in about 12 minutes. We're noticing teams kind of just like, okay, well, let's not just jump in and try to take that 5 minute Gold Fury anymore.
Yeah.
The channel kind of does a little bit too much, unless you get a good fight, obviously. You get a really nice gank. And to be honest with these teleporters, although they don't spawn until about 8 minutes, that is possible probably closer to the 8-minute mark when you just see some solo laner come in out of nowhere, engage, create a huge disruption over on the other side of the field where they're not supposed to be, and everybody's freaking out, pinging them, saying, "Hey, your guy's gone." And you're like, "Well, I'm sorry." He just kind of like jumped on a teleporter for 4.5 seconds, and now he's over there. What do you want me to do? I was buying an item.
Yeah, the teleporters have something like just playing ranked in year 11. It's been so interesting to see like the uses of them. I've seen people drag a couple enemies to a teleporter and then teleport them all to the solo lane, and it's like now it's our problem. You sort of like rotate the problem to the other side of the map. But I've seen some really like hefty early solo rotations, so there's not much you can do about it. So like teleporter usage is going to be like the most fun thing to watch in year 11.
So far, I have had a couple of my favorite interactions that I was hoping to do. I have a bucket list right now of Season 11 of about what I want to do to players, and one of them is, with this teleport, I wanted to force somebody across the map without them wanting to go across the map, and I used Dodgy Pull to pull them in,
Oh.
and then just knocked them down, sent them to the other end of the map, cleared the wave, and just went about my business, and they kind of just stood over in the other side like unbelievably miserable, and I could see them standing there, I'm sure probably typing about what I did to their team. They didn't seem too happy about it. Then, taking a team fight on top of it from the other side of the map, coming over to my side of the map, I'm jumping into this team fight with my duo other solo laner. We're fighting on top of it, and then we get sent to their side of the map, and so now we completely just lane swapped both sides of the map. Was a little bit of unexpected. Nice pluck though right now out of the gate. Xenophonics dashing in his ally. There comes the horrific, and it looks like Thors is in a little bit of danger, but was able to get the dash away and is chilling back. No first blood as of yet. They don't want that under 60-second first blood here in Arcane's division just yet, but a pluck comes through, and here comes the lurking Papa Nike jumping on in, looking for Thors, gets the good feather step off and finishes it off. That's first blood for the Odin's Headhunters, and a little bit of a cheeky laugh coming from Papa Nike. He snuck up on them. Might want to get some wards down early.
Yeah, those level 2 ganks this year, something we didn't bring up, but these junglers have been in dual lane at level 2 almost every game that I've seen. Like they will really smart play to just walk over, get the feather step, lock them down, and auto. They actually played that really well to get all their damage off without, that turnabout getting into tower. And Thors is going to go down, and that's going to put him behind a lot, actually, which is not something you want in a Hachiman.
Yeah, those small wins really add up in this early game, especially over in a carry role. Your Hunter not missing out on a wave, 2 waves, immensely impactful. Now you just keep up that pressure, keep applying it to him. Granted, you didn't get a relic, but if you can just keep the physical pressure on top of him, he's going to start feeling it. You're going to start seeing the XP difference, and already we are seeing about a half a level get built up over there. And for the early game, not bad. 700 gold, half a level. I think Odin's Headhunters are kind of chilling right where they want to be, and now they're looking over here at 7. The solo lane, a good feather step yet again on this Bellona. There comes that Ren, hoping to finish this off. Unable to secure that, gets away. I don't want to eat any tower shots right now at level 3, but now it looks like Papa Nike might have bit off more than they could chew, but able to get away with that one. Gonna secure both the Scepter and the Totem.
And that's one of the problems with being an early ganker is that, you could see, even though they got that first blood, Nike's a level behind the Ao Kuang is... Oh, Turnlock's gonna get plucked again. Looks like he's gonna get out there, so he's fine. I thought they might have aggressed on him a little too much and gotten another kill, but he'll be fine. He's got the beads up still, but yeah, you can see Ao Kuang actually has the level lead, on the Papa Nike, so he'll hit 5, and he can have an even more effective gank a couple more minutes into the game. So that's one of the bigger issues with ganking early, but it looks like both teams will be fine for now.
Yeah, that tends to be the trade-off that you're looking for is, okay, I'm going to go over, I'm going to look for ganks on some of these side lanes. One thing that you're going to end up seeing, your jungle, probably not going to get as much XP as the enemy jungle. However, your mid's going to get more XP. They're going to be getting the solo farm where the enemy team jungler is splitting with their mid laner, and then you look at where you're applying the pressure over at the gank. I'm going to hold that thought right now as we have a very nice invade coming out from the Odin's Headhunters. Horrific gets popped, and now Mr. Nacho with that Ganesha trying to get away, but it was the Odin's Headhunters, it was the Death Dealers who ended up popping their Horrific. Now here comes the Odin's Headhunters Horrific onto Thors, seeing if you could get close by to a wall, but the pluck is good. A Wheelix jumping on in, Papa Nike looking to secure it, but Thors got into the wall. Really good peel from Mr. Nacho, but now you don't have the dash for yourself. So long as your carry lives, that's a second kill on the board for the Odin's Hunters. Make that 2 more kills for the Odin's Headhunters. Alloy ended up finding that one on the back end.
And we talked about Death Dealers having a comp that wants to fight a lot, but it is looking all Odin's Headhunters in these early fights. Smarter Willicks early game pick, just walking around the map and getting kills everywhere. Oh, man, I thought
He's
Aggie was
popping
gonna go
Nike
down
right
there
now.
for sure. Yeah,
It
it's
is all
in.
Papa Nike. He is all over this map, applying pressure to the side lanes, applying pressure to the mid lane. Just wherever this Awilix is right now is where the fight is going, and this Ao Kuang cannot keep up.
They are level 6. It looks like they are looking for something on the Hachi Man. He did ult to have to kill that Turnabog over on the tier 2 tower, so this might be a bad fight for him.
Dash does come out. Good slow right now. Thor's dashing in. Execute is good, but the beads do come out. My Lanniston ends up securing that one to kill, going the way of the Death Dealers, getting them on the board for the first kill of this game.
And that's what you want when you're Ao Kuang. Obviously, Awilix much better early game. Papa Nike also playing incredibly well. You want to just be able to keep up, because if you both get to the later stages of the game, Ao Kuang is much harder to deal with than this Awilix. So smart of Odin's Headhunters to get their lead on the Awilix, but we have to make sure that the Ao Kuang is just keeping up with the pressure. So smart gank, good kill.
I'd say he's keeping up pretty nicely. He's already got that Bancroft's talent online, and that's going to be extremely impactful. Whoosh! Eating a Kraken. I don't know if he's into calamari, but let me tell you, he did just get sent back to the gray screen right there. 3-man pressure right here in the middle lane for the Odin's Headhunters. Yeah, they're kind of just applying pressure everywhere right now, everywhere they go. Because while you do have that Bancrofts over on the Ao Kuang, you got 20% CDR right out of the gate on the Awilix. Picked up that Jotun's Wrath. Obviously a very cheap item to get online for 20% CDR in the early game. Now my Lanniston ends up turning that one onto Papa Nike, thinking they were going to get some cheeky damage off. Retreating back to the tower, is able to get away, no problem. The Sentinel Zeus was expended from Krusty's Nuts. Unable to get anything off the return end.
Yeah, that was looks dead, and also they know her beads are down now. So Huang can actually look to get even more ahead if he does find some sort of execute. Maybe go up 3-0 to Willicks 2-2. That would be really tragic for Odin's Headhunters, especially after the start that they've had. Willicks is gonna have to play a little more careful. Interestingly, she backed and bought a Raven Ward.
I love that.
I love Raven Wards. I think they're so cool, but the application of them I've only seen is really for Fire Giant. Let's hold that thought as we might see another kill.
All day. All day. You need to say anything else about that one? That was just...
No.
Took an auto trade, held that ultimate right for the perfect moment. They're like, okay, well, you got to come out of that wall eventually.
Yeah, no, that was a picture-perfect Hachiman play. That's exactly what this character does, is just poke you out in the lane, and it looks like they're all putting come into Ganesh in the jungle.
We do have 4 members coming over here, but there's the Chernobog ultimate. Thor's making his way on in with that Living Nightmare, now dashing in, trying to peel for his support, but his support getting a little bit low. Popping Nike also getting low. Good trade, 1-for-1 right now so far in this team fight, but there comes the Kraken ripping through. Beads expended on this Poseidon from the execute of the Ao Kuang, chasing him down, trying to secure the kill, and it is Foosh who ends up picking up that one onto Guzzy. Xenophonics now in a little bit of danger, very low HP, but so is my Lanniston. And Alloy is here. That's Hachiman already putting in so much work, dashing in as Thor securing the kill on the Xenophonics, and now Foosh wanting to get a little bit of a shutdown on this Hachiman, but gonna get away to the safety of his tier 1 tower in mid.
And this is what we were talking about in the picks and bans. We were looking at the Death Dealers comps. Like, they're so good at just fighting. You can see Foosh put so much damage out on top of the Ganesh. Now, Ganesh obviously is sort of by himself out there, but it's in their jungle. So Foosh comes over, we see Kwang come over, and we see Thor's come over as well, and that was just a cleanup from them, which sort of just evened up the game on both sides. You see Odin's Headhunters only have about a 500 lead.
Close that down, but something I did just see pop up on our screen. Those teleporters are active, which means those warriors are going to start getting involved. I can guarantee it. We know they love hitting things, and if they can hit things that are squishier than them, it makes them happy.
Yeah, especially if we see them start to fight over Beacon in a couple minutes, or even go for an early Gold Fury. Those Soul Landers are going to be coming over, hopefully, but both Soul Landers kind of just, chilling, getting their builds online. I like Bologna going into Phalanx. Oh my god. As you see, Guzzy hit a big Kraken onto the Agni there to kill him. His beads are still down, so he is dying every time to that one.
So you said that we brought this game back to about a 500 goal. I'm going to hold that thought right now as Papa
Yeah.
Nike still looking to get active constantly. Wanting something, wanting everything in this game, jumping in, finding my Lanniston out off the invis, and so is Krusty's Nuts jumping in there. There goes the Sentinels of Zeus, looking to clean up the kill onto the Sao Kwang. Gets it! One down so far for the Death Dealers. Krusty Nuts eating a little bit of those tower shots, though. Mr. Nacho finding himself low. Seven's up finding one. Pop and Nike gets one themselves. 2 for 1 so far in favor of the Odin's Headhunters. Still recovering as Thors has that ultimate available to him. He's holding onto it, goes up into the air, looking to make the rotation over here to the solo lane, ends up landing on in, finds Guzzy. Thor's getting up himself a double kill right now, and just turning this team fight right back around. So, I was going to talk a little bit about the XP being still in the favor of the Odin's Headhunters, but that was such a good rotation. It felt like it just kind of turned that team fight in favor and just even things out a little bit more as we see the XP graph shifting its way back down towards net neutral.
Yeah, if Death Dealers didn't show up there at the end of that fight, that would have been a huge gain in Odin Headhunters' favor. Like they played the beginning of that fight so well. I just think they overstayed. I think they were in the right tower a little too long. Nike took way too much damage. He knew she was going to go down, and then it just hovered around too long. You need to be able to get those kills and sort of like back out of that fight. Because if they did, they don't die to Foosh there, or Foosh and Thor's coming back to the fight, and they keep their lead and can set up for the next objective.
Are you telling me that being at the enemy team's tier 2 tower 10 minutes without any tier 1 towers being taken is too deep?
I think so.
Unbelievable. The nerve. The nerve. Nice execute from my Lanniston, finding that pick over on a Papa Nike. Dharmic Pillars is dropped over mid, looking for this Poseidon. But just poke him out quite significantly, honestly. That Bancroft's Talon, sorry, not a claw yet. I'm sure it'll end up being a claw. That Bancroft's Talon putting in some massive work right now. Now it looks like the Death Dealers are making their way over towards this Gold Fury. You don't have the Dharmic Pillars available to you for the Shred, but they are going to pick it up nonetheless. You do have the Agni Bombs available, and it looks like they have plenty of vision. They know nobody's going to be coming in anytime soon. Should be able to take this one away without any issue. Alloy looking to do a little bit of a face check, but it's a little bit too late. First Gold Fury going the way of the Death Dealers and swinging the gold just almost in their favor. 300 gold a game now.
Yeah, I mean, they were down 1,000 gold just a couple minutes ago, so definitely good on them for getting in there and getting that Gold Fury. Oh, wow. Okay, Seb is playing this way too dangerously. He's so low against this Nike. He could be dying. Better watch out for that. While we're just waiting, really smart from the Death Dealers to just pull that. They know the Sobek has to back there, and they know that Guzzy's red buff is spawning, so that's where he was going to go. So they actually got that pretty uncontested. As Chernobog's going to go up in the air here. He might. There's nowhere safe to go on the map.
Yeah, don't think you want to go towards that Nike. As you just saw.
Yeah, no, definitely don't want to go towards that Nike, especially when Sev is in such a bad spot to help in that scenario. But there really was nowhere safe to go. He had 3 people on his landing, so I mean that's just going to be a free kill for Headhunters.
No, something I've been seeing quite a bit is this Death's Toll pickup over on our. I'm gonna hold off as this little bit of a skirmish going off on the beacon. Dash in from Mr. Nacho. The Aegis was good for Guzzy. My Lanniston doing his best. What a nice pluck from Xenophonics, peeling for Oh wow. Yeah. Oh look, a Raven Ward.
What a shout out to the Raven Ward. What a beautiful
fantastic
Aegis.
peel.
Yeah, that was a fantastic Aegis from Guzzy and an even better peel from Xeno there. Just Ao Kuang had Poseidon dead to rights there. He was low. He got Kraken, and then he had to execute as well. He got sent up in the air, and the Aegis actually immune both of them. So it was really just heads up play to keep himself alive, and then just beautiful peel from Xeno to keep him alive as well. And they got a beacon for that.
The unfortunate thing too is that it's back-to-back deaths for this Ao Kuang pick who had that level lead, and now I'm seeing him a level and a half behind this Awilix pick. That's not somewhere you want to be against a god like that. Has the 30% CDR, has got that Hydra's online. It's gonna be quite impactful going into this mid game, because this is where this build spikes. You don't have a lot of power, but you have that early pressure, and right now they're about to show it as we see them making their way over to this dual lane. Good silence from Mr. Nacho. Good grab as well. Beads a little bit too late, unable to secure the kill. Instead, getting a little bit turned on, but a collapse might be coming in from the members of the Odin's Headhunters. There goes the Dharmic Pillar. Xenophonics dashing on into the wall goes Thors. They're going to make themselves away, no problem.
Yeah, and like I was saying in Picks and Bans, there's no worse feeling than trying to dive a backliner Ganesh to silence you. Just look at that clip, man. You know, he's 25% HP. Wilix gets that kill every time with a quick feather step. Just walks in, cannot do anything to this Ganesh. He's silenced the entire time, and then ends up almost dying himself.
You just need to anticipate the Ganesha silence,
Yeah.
Ganesha grab, anything like that. Look for a pre-beads. Living Nightmare dashing on. Speaking of dashing on in, Xenophonics dashing into a tier 2 tower at 14 minutes, biting off way more than he wanted. Thors ends up picking up that one. Now it's Alloy in a very difficult position, able to get into that mounted archery, but is it gonna get him away? It does end up getting him towards his teammate, and I think that's exactly where he wants to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously for a little bit too much than he wanted to spend.
No, totally agree. He definitely does. That's exactly where he wants to be. One thing we haven't really talked about a lot is Hachi has a 2-level lead, you know, on Thors here. And you know, speaking of that, Thors might even go down to the Sawilix. Al Kwong's there to sort of back her off. Oh my goodness, and a beautiful kill. And oh, actually, Al Kwong gets the execute. What's nice is that'll
So-
get him back into the game. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Had a Wheelix used the ultimate yesterday in that team fight, would have gotten the double kill.
Yeah.
1000% would have gotten the double kill. This is where it comes down to the knowledge of the character, utilizing that ultimate outside of just using it for plucks. You get a massive, massive attack speed stim. Let me get the exact numbers real quick because I'm not going to butcher it. It's 50% attack speed at level 1, going up to 70% at max rank, 20 physical power. The power maxing at 60 physical power at max rank. Then, yes, you have the damage from the gravity surge, but come on, that stim is atrocious. Utilizing that to just get that extra damage off in the fight, using it for your feather step, getting that auto attack. God, pop those ultimates, Wheelix players.
No, completely agree. You definitely should. Foosh comes in and pops that ultimate right on the Xenophonics there. And you see this game has gotten really scrappy, but especially with Krusty's Nuts going back in, it looks like even more is happening. Foosh might be safe here.
Look at all the while over on the opposite end, Death Dealers are picking up that Oni Fury. I know Alloy wants to get this and does end up getting this. Alloy finding Foosh at the end of this, but the Oni Fury goes the way of the Death Dealers. Papa Nike trying to see if they can get a little bit of a cleanup, ends up expending the beads. Feather step over onto Thors. I don't think that was the target that they wanted because now that chase down is coming, Papa Nike ends up finding Mr. Nacho, gets 2 over here. Very nice. Again, did not use that ultimate. I think we're gonna see that for the rest of the game.
Yeah, no,
We're gonna have
definitely.
to talk to Papa Nike after this one.
Yeah, just let them know, hey, it's good outside of the flux, man. But
You got
really,
30%.
yeah, really devastating for Death Dealers that they do pick up the gold tier in response to the Headhunters just winning the fight on the right so devastatingly. But then a Willick shows up and kills them both. So they essentially got nothing. And now, in the blink of an eye, Odin's Headhunters are 7k ahead. They scoop themselves up a Pyromancer. And now they have pressure in every lane everywhere. And this game's sort of being ran away with.
Yeah, now you got that tier 1 tower going down. Now you got the beacon spawning, and that's going to be taken in about 20 seconds. As soon as that spawns, be it the Odin's Headhunters still hang around in this area. They get the Pyromancer, so you get the return objective on top of it. Death Dealers can't do anything with the Oni waves. Those are all eliminated instantly, not to mention they had some deaths off the back end of the Gold Fury, so they couldn't do anything with it, especially since it was a carry. Not the best position right now for the Death Dealers. They're just trying to keep this game neutral, get to the team fight phase, although I think now is the team fight phase. It's just a little bit of a lack of a grouping and getting the proper vision, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the big thing I wanted to bring up.
Speaking of
They're-
vision,
Yeah,
Ravenward.
a huge Raven Ward. I love Raven Wards, but this is off a tangent. But my favorite thing about Raven Wards is that you can have 2 wards down and use a Raven Ward. So it's like, I'd like to see people use it more as like a 3rd ward, sort of like to figure out what people are. But you know, back to sort of where we're at in the game right now. Death Dealers need to be grouped up together in these fights. They have such good team fight presence from Bellona, from Ganesha, from Agni, Ao Kwong, Thors. They all do it so well, but they're just taking these scraps in the jungle and losing all of them.
Rusty's Nuts jumping in with 4 members around, make that
Oh.
5 as Mr. Nacho's trying to catch on up. Agni bombs get dropped, getting away at about a quarter HP, but I don't think the Nike's too worried. I love these Raven boards. I'm gonna step back here as it looks like we're moving into a little bit of a lull. Living Nightmare doesn't make its way on over to the popping Nike over, trying to push up this dual lane, understanding you got that Chernobog, but understanding that that's an assassin you're going up against. But as we were saying about the Raven Ward, my favorite part is kind of just walking through mid and being like, you know what, I'm thinking of invading blue. What's the cooldown on that? Let me just throw that over there. I'm thinking of invading purple. What's the timer on that? Let me just throw the Raven Ward in that direction. Fire Giant getting extremely low. There goes the Dharmic Pillars, and it's Death Dealers who end up taking that one away, even though it was the Odin's Headhunters who had all the advantage in that one. Kraken comes ripping through, 2 kills going the way of the Odin's Headhunters. Mounted Archery making its way on in. My Lanniston doing his best. My Lanniston not enough. Ends up falling 3 kills, and the Gravity Surge ends up finding Mr. Nacho. 4 kills for the Odin's Headhunters. You lost the Fire Giant off of your pole, but talk about the gains. What are you going to do off of that now?
I mean, you're going to see them scrape down all these towers. It's really just the tier 2 left, but it looks like they're all grouping on the right side to get that right Phoenix as well. And Fire almost seemed like a bait there, but they committed to it and then killed everyone. It's like Odin's Headhunters, they played that really well, except obviously Secure. You know, Death Dealers are able to walk up and seal it, and you really can't let that happen. Well, that thought, because Chernobog is going to go down here. Yeah, sort of just inted right into the Phoenix, and they're going to take him and the Phoenix and sort of leave, but Foosh is up. He's getting some good damage. Okay, they got it, and they're gonna mostly get out.
For it. So you get the Fire Giant to crack the base, and it's generally you're not going to be cracking the base until you get that EFG. The first Fire Giant is kind of just used to clean up towers, clean up objectives, increase that gold lead, and get you that extended part where you're getting those 6 items online, you're upgrading your starter items. So being able to crack the base off of a Fire Giant take that you didn't even get, I think that's huge for the Odin's Headhunters.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. They definitely... It's definitely amazing for them to crack open the base this early in the game. It's really only 21 minutes, and you're already seeing some people on Headhunters hit that level 20. You see Willix at level 20, you see Hachiman at level 20, and
I was worried.
Yeah, and if Death Dealers keep walking up and sort of not being able to do anything, Odin's Headhunters are just going to win 1 or 2 more fights and then take the entire game.
You got to be worried, especially with no towers remaining. You got your base cracked open. They could walk in off the back end of one fight and just end this one right now. If the Death Dealers aren't careful, obviously. But now you got to play on the opposite end of the map. Okay, well, Fire Giant's down. Sure, we can play over for Pyromancer, but Gold Fury's up over there. We got towers to clean up all over this map. There's a chance that the Death Dealers can close this gold gap, but it's going to take some work. It's going to take some proper positioning, and right now Mr. Nacho does not have that positioning. Getting sent on back to the fountain.
Yeah, and in the gray screen he will be. What's nice about them being so far behind is that is a 30-second death timer. He will be up for any siege that Headhunters try to commit to here. As you see, Gravity Surge used on Foosh in the jungle, he might go down too.
Might and does. Foosh ends up falling to this Poppin' Nike on this Awilix. Good blink, gets the knock up over on a Sev, force the Bellona ultimate. Now it looks like the members of the Odin's Headhunters marching their way on up this middle lane. They don't have any Pyro Bombs available to them, but they are going to push this in. And again, no Pyro Bombs, no Minion Wave, no really anything that says we can take this, but they're trying to take a fight off of it, not dealing any damage to this Phoenix as of yet. Taking more damage, honestly, than I think they are dealing. I don't like this call.
I don't like this call either. You have to give this Phoenix up here so far behind. For the Death Dealers to get anything done from this spot, they cannot be dying like that to Aladi.
Good execute, ends up finding one, but Poppin' Nike finds one themselves over on a Mr. Nacho, and now Guzzy ends up getting my Lanniston. Mounted Archery dashing on in, looking for Sev over here, trying to put this game away already. But with Poppin' Nike off the board, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, with Poppin' Nike dead, Foosh came back kind of doing a ton of damage. A lot of low health bars in the Death Dealer side, but it looks like they're going to get out.
No!
And Foosh comes up big. No way. Oh my god. He gets the final kill. Oh my god. That's an achievement right there to be the only one alive in a conquest map. Good for him, but
Double
I
DSI'd all but you.
yeah. I don't think anything's getting done. I think they're gonna reset, but Death Dealers the problem with being so far behind, other than, the ability to just get the game lost, on any sort of, bad move or team fight, the problem with Odin's Headhunters is they only really got a Phoenix and some Titan damage there. Everyone going down is so good for the Death Dealers. It sort of gives them a small chance to get themselves back into the game. They can push out waves. They can look to defend this fire, and it's sort of the game's not set back to neutral, right? Odin's Headhunters still have a 10k gold lead, 13k experience lead. It is nowhere near close, but now Death Dealers have a chance because of the way they played that.
Yeah, you got your Phoenix back up. That's huge. You got some good shutdowns. That's some gold in the pocket. That's awesome. Gonna get you some levels too, as we see Thors and Fuchs both ticking over to level 20. They're able to get those starter items upgraded, and that's going to be massive right there. Getting those starter upgrades is a huge power spike, highly underrated. You know, I want to see people get those instead of buying into their sixth items that we kind of see a little bit where people end up going in and getting their sixth item online instead of getting the power spike that is their starter upgrade. And look, Ravenward. Gonna call it out every time I see it. I just love seeing them float past.
Yeah, I love the Wave Wards. It's such a good addition. So are the proximity wards too. I like those a lot. I like the idea of using them in combat, which we've seen a couple times.
I've used them strictly for combat purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple interesting cases where you use them like around a fire pit. If someone's trying to come steal, it sort of like delays that. Other than that, I've only seen them used in combat. But I like all the new wards. It looks like Headhunters are just going to start up this fire, and Death Dealers are looking like they're just going to give it up.
Not able to show any presence. I think wanting to get their farm, get this Ao Kuang. My Lanniston's been putting in a lot of work, but without him at level 20, a little bit of danger. I am almost certain that Bumba Spear is just the best upgraded starter item right now for a jungler. Not having that around his belt is a little bit worrisome, especially in this later game. It's 26 minutes, just ticked over to level 20, so hopefully he can get that online. But now they got to defend his Phoenix again, and it's already weakened, already down to 3rd HP. A little bit on the worrisome end for the Death Healers here in game 1.
And I have no idea what they can do to sort of get this, doing a great job on the defense. Great Dharmic Pillars as well.
Massive Dharmic Pillars, ends up dashing in. Aloy ends up falling. Xenophonics getting a little bit low, ends up finding Mr. Nacho, but the Agni Bombs are good. Thors ends up finding Xenophonics. 2 kills right now for the Death Dealers in this fight. They're going to get 1 for the Odin's Headhunters, a 2 for 2. Beads expended. My Lanniston ends up finding Pop and Nike. Is he going to see the Poseidon? He is. Alternate timeline might not be enough right now to save this Poseidon. It is not. Beads expended from my Lanniston, but doesn't matter. Now they're looking to get this cleanup 5th kill, get their middle Phoenix back online, get some map pressure, get some farm, get everybody to level 20. I think they're in a great spot.
And they will get the deicide. Huge. And the middle Phoenix does respawn. Fuchs is in the base clearing waves, making sure that nothing happens off that. They'll get the Phoenix up, and it'll be pretty healthy for the next fight. And that is worst case scenario of your Odin's Headhunters. Outside of losing the game, you have fire on all 5. All 5 of you show up for a siege. All 5 of you die. And handedly, too. Death Dealers still have 3 alive at the end of that fight. So it's only down here from here for the Hunters and only up for the Death Dealers, and that is the big issue with Ao Kuang. You see, my Lanniston get huge in that fight. He gets 3 kills, gets an execute, lands on the Poseidon to finish it off, and then they chase down the poor Night Qs by themselves. Big ups to the Death Dealers from this point. All they have to do is protect their base, sort of push out, group up as 5, and then this game might actually be done for the Headhunters.
I think they're in the best possible position they could be in. I mean, you have this Ganesha Agni defense with an execute sitting over the back end of my Lanniston, who now is level 20, is able to get that starter upgrade, did get that starter upgraded, getting the 6th item online. They're exactly where they want to be. I don't think you're able to walk in, and that is kind of the problem we were talking about a little bit earlier. Getting that early Fire Giant, you're not able to get sieges properly against a well-organized team. I'm looking at this, getting sieges off with a basic FG. Granted, it was a weakened Phoenix. 5v5, I don't really like those odds. You're not really cracking the base where you have the removed backdoor protections from the EFG, which is massive. So You know, like I just said, taking a fight into that kind of team comp just seems
Yeah.
extremely risky.
Yeah, you saw beautiful Dharma pillars from Nacho to sort of defend the Phoenix, and it really sort of messed up everything that Headhunters want to do. I think if they do go to Siege again, they should do some sort of split. I think in a 5v5, their comp is just a bit worse. It's just not enough to sort of win, but it looks like that's exactly what they're going to try to do is 5v5 Siege. It looks like things are getting ready.
You have an extremely pick-based oriented comp versus a team fight comp on a defense. Execute is not going to find its mark. Sev ends up finding one, a little bit of 1-for-1 right now. Both junglers off the board, and now Xenophonics is going to dash wait, but here comes the Living Nightmare from Thors. Ends up expending the Aegis, but the Kraken is still available. Guzzy ends up finding Thors. Krusty's Nuts in a little bit deep against the remaining members of the Death Dealers, and now the Odin's Headhunters' other members are making their way on back. But Titan is down to half HP.
Yeah, Death Dealers might just lose this to minions, and the rest of Owen's Headhunters are realizing that and going right back in.
But it's Headhunters getting on in there, still down to about half HP as that Titan. If they keep moving in and out, they're going to end up just resetting it. Middle Phoenix did end up spawning, did end up falling. That Soul Lane Phoenix is going to be respawning soon. Foosh getting stunned out. Aloydi just loves dashing in on this timeline. Proc does end up going out. That's not what you want to see. And Sev ends up picking up that one. ADC off the table for the Death Dealers. They have no choice but to walk away.
Yeah, that was an interesting try. If they were going to try to kill the Titan there, they needed to be all in. They were kind of like dancing in the Titan room, and they sort of healed the Titan more than they did damage to it. They needed to sort of all in, use that Poseidon ult that's coming up in a second, use, a Willix ult, like everything. Everything needed to be dumped on the Titan for them to win there. But you can see from that siege is they're not completely out of the game. Yes, they lost the last 5v5, and I would say they lost this one as well. They did get the middle Phoenix, and if they go in, they do a little Titan damage, and they get a Phoenix on every siege that they do, they'll eventually kill the Titan. That dealers have to start being proactive about taking these 5v5s if they want to sort of end the game themselves.
Well, now you got the EFG spawned. You have your... I'm going to hold that real quick as my Lanison looking for a pick does end up finding it on a pop and Nike. A little bit of a worrisome position. Now for the Odin's Headhunters, you don't have that jungler of your own, and you have the Chernobog split pushing over on the opposite end of the map. Doesn't have the ultimate available yet, but what I was saying was you got your solo lane Phoenix back up. You're able to defend this middle lane as you're pressuring out the Fire Giant. I think they're exactly where they want to be, especially now being a man down for the Odin's Headhunters.
Literally all Death Dealers have to do is AFK. Odin's Headhunters are forced to either start fire or back right now. And no matter what they do, Death Dealers, they just have to AFK. Chernobog will be able to split push the game, and if Chernobog sees anyone, he's gonna ult back to fire.
No matter what you choose, it's the wrong choice, and it's unfortunate, but Aloydi ends up finding Foosh getting a double kill. What is going on over there as Thors is now at 1 HP? Where are you gonna land? No real options, ends up dashing onto this hot.
Oh, wrong neighborhood, buddy. That is not where you want to be landing.
Don't want to say what I'm thinking, but I think Aloydi just kind of popped it right there and put this game away.
Yeah, Death Dealers, they were in such a good spot. I just think they played it a little too hasty. I think Thors, he greeted for that Phoenix too much, and that sort of cost their entire team, and Aloydi just went off and killed everyone.
It's good to commit for those kind of objectives, but the whole thing, like you were saying, is a little bit of an overcommit right there, a little bit of an oversight from Thors. You're going over there as this Chernobog to drag somebody's attention so that you can go up into that Living Nightmare and just ult across over to the Fire Giant pit and offset the balances that are already offset. You have the Aurelix dead to right. She's already on the gray screen. She's already on the freaking timer counting down, waiting to spawn back in. Now you have Nike sitting over here. I just go flying across the map as a Chernobog, and now it's a 5v3 over this Fire Giant pit. We're killing at least one, maybe two people before this Nike can even show up if they're unprepared, if they were playing this right. Now the Nike comes in. Now it's a 2v5 over here. Aurelix finally gets a respawn off, is not able to make it there in time, and you're just picking people off. You're exactly where you want to be. You're cleaning up things, and the entire map is in your favor then at that point. Like you said, I think they just kind of jumped the gun a little bit too much.
If you look back, you can see it exactly. It's a 4v3, in Fire Giant, and as soon as you see the Nike, you have to go back in there. and and make it a 5v3. But instead, he takes a little too long, hesitates, and then actually a lot of all props to them. Pops off, kills two, and then where do you go from there? You're half health from this Nike that you've been fighting in the Phoenix, and just one auto was enough to take him and take the game.
Take the game they did. Odin's Headhunters started off really, really strong, got a lot of good picks, but Death Dealers made a nice comeback moving into the mid game. However, we're not able to close that one out. Game number one goes to the Odin's Headhunters. We're going to take a quick intermission before we get over to picks and bans for game number two. We will be right back momentarily. See you then. Welcome back to the Frank's Retirement Home League here, where we're kicking off week 1 in our Canes division with this Death Dealers versus Odin's Headhunters matchup. If you're just now joining us, a quick little recap of what happened over in game number 1. It was Odin's Headhunters. I mean, they came out pretty strong in the early game, a little bit slowed down in the mid game, but picked it back up in the late game, made some really great decisions, and were able to put that one away. My name's Zach Vexel. Divine Ape is joining me, and over on that spectate doing a phenomenal job is the Wolfie Pup. What are some of our thoughts on game 1? What are some of our thoughts going into game number 2?
So thoughts on game one are, I think the Headhunters they played incredibly well early game, and they made some mistakes in the mid game that Death Dealers never really took advantage of. They're kind of just on the back foot the entire game, and they stayed on the back foot even when they were in a position where they could be aggressive. They sort of stayed on the back foot, and then when they did try to win the game, they made a couple mistakes and lost it. So I just want to see the Death Dealers either get aggressive more early, maybe pick like a couple more early gods, and maybe don't get so far behind. Or if they're going to play a late game style comp, they just need to play that late game style comp like they should. Group is 5, and sort of come back in later stages of the game. Whichever one they pick, it doesn't really matter. They just need to execute it well going into game 2.
We are seeing a couple adjustments coming here in the ban phase already. Nike and the Hachiman both getting removed for the Death Dealers. And that leaves a couple things open. And one of those things is this Kukul Khan getting hovered and getting locked in over right now for the Death Dealers. This pick said it a little bit in game number 1, but it got banned away. So we just kind of talked about it briefly. Speaking of picks that got talked about briefly, the Kukul Khan, a lot of clear. He's got the potential, the Spirit of the 9 Winds, to just kind of secure any objectives and rip through a team fight, cause a lot of damage, a lot of potential with this pick to just kind of play it nice, get his farm online, scale up to the late game. But then over on the other side, I see this Athena Rama. Holy duo lane, unless that's an Athena jungle. I am a massive Athena jungle supporter. But the amount of setup, the amount of pressure, if this is over both in the duo lane, is insane. And just the amount of pressure that this Athena pick provides alone, whether it be in the jungle, whether it be over in the support lane, just the global pressure. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. The global pressure is insane. It also acts as a ban for the Death Dealers. You never want to see Athena with something like a Kukulkan, like a Spirit of the Wind, because it's sort of a free couple of kills. Anyone that gets taunted gets deleted. So smart to just pick that up. You see Death Dealers also go to Thanatos Osiris, which is really smart. They do a really good job of actually shutting characters like Rama and Athena down, who are pretty immobile, and they could stick to them really well.
Yep.
Interesting not to see Bake Kujira not banned or picked at all top 3.
I'm wondering if it's just skill diff. Maybe somebody's kind of lacking the ability to play that god. I understand wholeheartedly. Like, you see these newer gods come out, you don't see them for an entire split. You're not too sure how they're going to fit into your team comps. Teams are just getting formed, so you don't really have the synergy to just kind of pull something out. And to be honest, if I'm sitting in this draft phase and my team's like, hey, can you play this? Hey, can you play that? If I'm not going like, yeah, let's go, I can do this, I'm really comfortable on this god, let's play it, let's pick it up, let's see how it goes. If I'm not feeling that kind of energy, I don't want to just pick something just because it's good. I'd rather play comfort 1000%. And I tell this to everybody, picking comfort is just better in those instances than picking a meta pick.
I can see that for sure. They actually go to Vamana, which I think is an equally as frustrating god to play against.
I love
Kind of does the
Vamana.
same thing as, Bake, is a god that's frustrating because he's unkillable and he just walks up and he auto attacks you and he's like hard to peel. Vamana does the exact same thing, in that vein as, just a super tanky soul laner, super hard to kill, walks up, ults, auto attacks you, really can't peel him. So I think you're kind of getting the same effect by picking this Vamana over Bake anyway.
Yeah, day number 1, I sat there and Vamana was... I had to pick it up. I see Vamana buffs. I have to play the god. I have to know if the big old baby can sit there and run down teams again. And sure enough, I played him in Joust. Felt amazing. Played him over in different arenas and stuff. Felt amazing. Played him in Conquest, then in the jungle, over in the Soul Lane. Feels amazing. This god is super fun. What I'm worried about is the fact that Ankh is now on Horrific, and people constantly made the mistake of getting the Ankh for Vamana instead. But the Horrific dealing decreased damage, you have that decreased lifesteal. Now, that was a big pickup for the Vamana when you realize it getting horrific or Sunder because dealing decreased damage, taking increased damage, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to power through that because obviously a lot of picks are flying through right now. We see the Janus over on the side of the Odin's Headhunters. Meanwhile, the Ishtar Ares, holy dual lane from hell. Okay, I was talking about the dual lane from the Odin's Headhunters, but the Death Dealer's pressure with this dual lane is immaculate right now.
Both dual lanes are so aggressive and pressure heavy with like Athena Rama just being able to like insta clear waves and always having that taunt as a possibility. And with Ares Ishtar, just so much damage out of those two gods in particular. I'm ready to see these two just scrap it out level 2. And I guess it's gonna come down to which jungler sort of comes over first, which is probably gonna be the Thanatos. Now that I'm looking at everything, smart to pick up Robin, just match that pressure.
Raven.
I think Odin's Headhunters were making a mistake by hovering out Kwang in that scenario. I think they need to stick to this style of winning in the early game and sort of, bringing themselves to a better late game. Definitely smart to switch over to Raven. And I'm ready for scraps right off rip. I could tell this is going to be a game where each team's just going at it.
Robin saw a lot of buffs moving into the end of season 10, and now you come into season 11, and my guy's got Void Shield back. He's got Void Stone back in this Void Damamaru, however you pronounce that one. He's got Blackthorn Hammer back. Granted, I don't think it's a necessary pickup when you have, Rune Forged Hammer being an option, and I could just pick that up any day. He's not one who struggles for the mana. I think this is a phenomenal pickup, and if I were to categorize this, one of the best junglers and easily probably the top ability-based jungle because of his potential to just be extremely relevant with his recent buffs, but also the fact that he can just flex around his build style. Maybe I want to go a little bit hybrid. Maybe I want to just go full tank and be a bruisery warrior like I go back to my roots and be a bruisery warrior, or just go full damage and jump on top of you. Either way, this pick is phenomenal at all points of the game.
I think the Robin pick really makes me like what Odin Headhunters are doing and coming into game 2. I think it's super exciting to sort of round out their draft. Is on top of like the pressure in every lane. You have Vamana in the solo lane. You have this Athena Rama dual lane, which brings incredible pressure to the lane itself, but Athena brings pressure to the entire map as well. With that Defender of Olympus ultimate, just being able to be anywhere your teammate is. And Janus, not a super heavy pressure mid, but into Kukulkan, neither of those guys really have pressure, sort of just clearing the wave and messing off, getting some farm somewhere else. So I'm really liking what the Odin's Headhunters have done with this draft. I just think if they make the same amount of mistakes they make in the mid game as they did in game 1 against the Death Dealers have a much more early to mid game draft that can capitalize on mistakes like that. So they do have to be very careful going into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I do know is that there's a build that's doing very well for mages, and it is a kind of Conduit Gem Chronos Pendant Book of Thoth build, where you get this early 20% CDR, and then you get the power from the Book of Thoth, and you're kind of just set for life right there, since they had that added penetration. It right there alone is going to help you with the lack of power that you do not have anymore from the mage passive. You're going to have a ton of power. You're going to have a ton of cooldown. You're going to be able to move around the map. And on a god like Janus, be it that Guzzy decides to go that route, could be very, very well. And I think it's going to come down to kind of what we were saying about this Wheelix in game number 1, how well that we can utilize this Janus pick, how well we can utilize that ultimate is going to determine the Odin's Headhunters pressure. Like we're going right, we're going left, we're moving to this objective, we're moving that way, we're ganking here, we're ganking there. Let's move around the map at all times of the game. In here you have 2 picks that can do that phenomenally. You have the Janus, you have the Athena. We can play either side of the map extremely well, and let's use them. Let's utilize these global ultimates for what they're supposed to be.
I think so too. I think the global ultimate is something that is live or die, by how well and how often it's used. I think there's plenty of times I see plenty of Athenas, completely waste it. I see plenty of Athenas like use it incredibly intelligently. It does give protections to the person you're going to. So I see some Athenas, use it in the middle of fights while you're all together, and it's not just their global pressure ultimate. So I think that's the guy that's. And Xenophonics did have a really good game one as well. I just think how well they use this Athena is going to determine if they have a good game two.
Let's see how game two goes as we move on in for the Death Dealers versus the Odin's Headhunters. Will the Odin's Headhunters put it away in two? Or is Death Dealers planning to take us to three already? Seen a little bit of action going on in the dual lane. Thor's looking for those chains. Nice catches the dash from Aloydi. Catches him out with the chains. Gonna be happy to clear up. Mr. Nacho got that Ishtar for this clear potential. You got the clear, then you have the fight potential following it up. We said it in picks and bans, this is going to be brawling dual lane from both sides, and we are seeing a cheeky little Ravana making his way, but there is a ward this time.
That's beautiful learning from game one. Death Dealers have that ward in the exact spot where they got level 2 gank from before. They see Papa Nike already on the way. They start to back off. They're at the tower line already, and just very smart play, which sets up this first blood potentially in the mid lane from Push. Already a much better start from Death Dealers in game one.
Adaptation, adapt, overcome, learn. Phenomenal from the Death Dealers. Like you said, recognizing what happened in game one, taking that experience and applying it here in game number two. Really well done. You know, you said it plenty right there, and then end up getting the first blood.
Yeah, and I'd like to see what Death Dealers do, you know, with this sort of pressure. In game one, there really wasn't a point where I could specifically say they were ahead, the ball was in their hands, you know, they can go on and let's see what they do with it. They were never in that position, and already a better start to the game too. And I just want to see where they sort of like take this advantage and you know, where they go.
Thor's ended up eating the dash of Xenophonics, and Mr. Nacho picks up that one. Extremely low HP bars over here in the dual lane, and the first kill going over there. Now the Ravana making another rotation over here to the solo lane, seeing if he could get a pick off on this Osiris, stepping out of his tower. Unfortunately, didn't seem too well communicated with Krusty's Nuts, was trying to get that dash away. Slow is good onto Sev, trying to lock down this Osiris, does end up doing so, but the Thanatos is lurking nearby. Sees low HP bar, sees red as Thanatos do. Scythe connects with a minion, not what you want to see. He's gonna have to walk away from that one.
I mean, good juke to stop the Robin route, because if he gets hit by that, it might be curtains for the Thanatos and curtains for the Death Dealers lead. The nice thing about solo laners dying early is that you kind of just teleport back in, and you don't really miss out on any farm. Personally, not my favorite mechanic in the game as a solo laner myself. Yeah, getting an early kill or an early death sort of, it feels a bit useless if you're not losing, you know, any XP or gold for it. But you know, what Death Dealers need to do is not let that early kill sort of staple their momentum. You know, they do just need to keep, you know, being aggressive like they are in every lane. You know, Thanatos is doing a great job of even being there to try to attempt to get that kill, and they just need to push their lead forward and be as aggressive as they have.
Killing these solo laners is no simple feat. You know, they are extremely tanky, and Ravana is not the character who I would say is, yeah, we're going to be ganking solo lane with this pick. No, when I think that, I'm thinking, you know, the Cirquets, the Nemesises, the, you know, the Thanatos, as a matter of fact, as one of those picks. So, seeing the early presence over there from Papa Nike, I do really like it. However, like you said, they have that teleport, they're able to get back, and I think it was a really good time because Sev was able to get that tier 2 round shield going. Thanatos able to get up into that ultimate 1 HP, and a Dream gonna get away with his life. Gen Assault off the mark, but no sweat, no problem. Gonna be able to live and come back, fight another day. Like you said though, you know, they have that teleport over in the solo lane to be able to come back at any time, and I think that's really good. However, from a jungler's perspective of if I'm going to be ganking over here, I want to gank at a time that's inconvenient for the solo laner to back. Unfortunately, there was a convenient time. He was able to get that tier 2 shield going. Next, what do we do? How do we offset that even more? Well, probably come over, make another gank. Apply the pressure over there now that he doesn't have the teleport available.
Yeah, I think ganking again is the play over in solo lane, because once that teleport's down, then you're actually losing out on a ton of farm. You know, teleport only takes 5 seconds. It takes, you know, 20 seconds to sort of like walk from base back into lane. So that in that amount of time is when you can really lose, you know, an entire wave. You lose like both the camps in solo lane, the purple and the silver. That's when you can sort of see the enemy solo laner get a big lead. Right now, the Vamana probably only has about like half a level.
Oh, nice blink from my Lannister right there, able to get that one. I was waiting to see what happened over here. Papa Nike taking a lot of damage. Chains end up landing, forcing the Mystic Rush from this Ravana. Now a rotation coming on in. There goes the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Just a nice little zoning ultimate from Foosh over here to keep the support from the Odin's Headhunters away. But as you were saying, you know, he's got about a half a level over there on this Vamana pick. But I'm seeing Phalanx versus the Berserker's Shield. And personally, I like Phalanx first right now, especially when you're looking at the passives on these two items. You're able to get a lot of prots, you're able to get some good attack speed, and just the amount of pressure that you can apply with this. Not saying Berserker's is bad. Yeah, as we can see right there. Really great item, and when you have an auto attacker versus an auto attacker, it's kind of just the item to go, and it's what's brought these auto attackers back into the solo lane meta.
I'm usually the type to try to justify whatever happens in any game and just sort of try to think of why one might go, you know, this over what I think is the right thing. I think Berserker's is just wrong here. I think you have to go Phalanx if you are.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah. I think as much as we can try to justify it, you know, I do think Phalanx is just a little more of a better item right now, and it kind of meets the same like reason to get both items.
Right, we do see players picking up both, mostly on like a god like Bellona. She has the ability to have the Phalanx and the Berserkers, but over on the Osiris, you end up seeing Phalanx into the Glad Shield because of his ability damage. Really nice pressure, forcing the ultimate from Krusty's Nuts. The Athena ult does come through, but Krusty's Nuts gets the return pick over onto my Lannister, unable to get up into that ultimate. Extremely unfortunate gank attempt over here from the Death Dealers. But as we were saying, yeah, that Phalanx, it just feels like it has that early game potential more, because with just Warrior's Axe and the Phalanx, you're already bridging up 100 protections, 100 prots from just those two items. That's insane, and not including your base prots.
Yeah, and one thing people, I think a lot of Osiris players, you know, make mistake on, not to like super harp on this, is that his passive goes away after you hit 8 auto attacks, and his passive is what gets him, you know, 16% mitigations of physical and magical. You want to be in this passive as long as possible. So actually building attack speed can pseudo take you out of that passive faster, if that's making sense. So you almost don't want to build too much attack speed, because it's almost like anti-synergy to what you want your character, well, what state you want your character in.
Ooh. Fortunate spacing, goes up into the Astral Lodge, and the blink comes out from Papa Nike, trying to lock down Mr. Nacho. The ultimate was good, but not enough to peel for himself. Mr. Nacho ends up falling to Papa Nike, and the teleporters are active here in game number 2. I agree completely with what you're saying, and I think that's why we do see the Phalanx into the Glad Shield from the Osiris players, because you're able to get that ability damage off, you're able to get that passive from the Glad Shield then, and oh my, hold on. I'm sorry, my Lannison's not having a good early game on this Thanatos right now.
No, it started off well. Oh, what a beautiful Spirit of the Nine Winds onto the Athena.
This whole team fight going on right now is just oh my after oh my. Foosh running away. Papa Nike, you can't chase those. It's 8 minutes, my guy. Foosh ends up finding that kill. A double kill right now for this Kukulkan.
I can't tell who is in favor of who. It looks like the game is dead even after both teams sort of make a bit of an oopsie, you know, kind of going after each other at times where they really shouldn't be. You know, they are scrapping both teams. What I like from both teams is they both drafted aggressive and they're both playing aggressive. Is it working out for either of them?
No.
Not really.
No, no, not at all.
No.
Kills are even, gold is even, levels are very even across the board. You might see a level here or there, half a level here or there, but come on. Like,
yeah, but you can't sort of like take your foot off the gas, if that makes sense. Because if you're Death Dealers and you sort of start to give up pressure because you have died a bunch, then Odin's Headhunters just sort of run away with the game. Same thing with Odin's Headhunters. If they sort of take their foot off the gas, the Death Dealers can, you know, sort of run away with the game. These are both like two, you know, very aggressive early mid-game comps. They have to both have their foot on the gas. So this is sort of what we expected. I'm just interested to see when teams start looking towards the objectives, because that's really when the lead is sort of going to go one way or the other.
We're getting up to that 10-minute mark, which means 2 minutes is when Beacon spawns. We're clearing up the final mid-camp. Never mind. We're trying to bait somebody into clearing the final mid camp over on the side to spawn the Pyromancer. No, we don't even want it. We're just going to go over to solo lane. Ares ends up getting the ultimate. There comes the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Ends up ripping through on a Xenophonics. Falling. Whoosh. Another kill over on this Kukulkan. That's our 4th pickup for this mid laner. Thanatos goes up into the air thinking he was going to collapse on a little bit too much. And over in the dual lane, a nice little 1v1 going in the favor of Aloydi.
Yeah, as you can see, Nacho was actually the support last game and sort of switched to ADC because maybe he didn't like that, Lordy sort of, was the driving force behind Odin Headhunter's win, but it looks like it did not matter which one of them was fighting Lordy. They are just going to own. It's a nice solo kill happens, over the dual lane.
Yeah, you got that solo kill, but let's take a look at the level disparity already coming out, and they got a fully stacked Devos. I think that's just massive. Like, yes, you have the Crimson Claw, our newer item, over there on the Ishtar, but what you're trading for the attack speed, you're losing out on penetration from the Devos, and also the a little bit of extra life steal and whatnot. So not a bad item, but what are you trading off for what you're looking to do over in that lane? I think is going to be very important, and we already see you got the Demon Blade over on Aloydi. You're already building into tier 2 of your Executioner. You're moving along in his build, and it just feels like he's an entire item ahead. Feels like he's 2 levels ahead because he is 2 levels ahead, which means we're going to start seeing some objective pulls over here.
Yeah, I'd love to see Odin Seductive start looking at this Gold Fury with Rama so big on this side. And Death Dealers on the opposite end. Smart of them to sort of come over to this left side and look to kill the Rama. You see Ares, you see Thanatos are just hunting to try to get him, get some sort of shutdown on him.
You notice somebody's getting ganked by this Thanatos. I'm seeing Xenophonics coming through on this Athena ultimate. We saw it over in the solo lane. Bam. Vamana was getting ganked. What happened? Boom. Athena ultimate came through right there. Ravana's getting collapsed on a little bit. Boom. Here comes the Athena ultimate. Xenophonics trying to apply a lot of pressure with this, but I'm wondering if that could get abused and baited out. Like, did he just teleport over to the other side of the map unwillingly?
Oh, no. I don't think Janus wants to be over in the solo lane. You're totally right, and Athena does not want to be alone. Stay go down as well.
I'm sorry to just cut off, but man, yeah, I don't think he wanted to rotate like that. Just happened to stand on the teleport pad a little bit too long, and now Krusty's Nuts making the rotation over into the mid, running down Foosh in this middle lane. Blink coming in from Papa Nike and a kill secure. Over in the mid lane, Foosh ends up falling in a shutdown on the Kukulkan, sending him onto the gray screen. Now Krusty's Nuts walking in here with the Thorns, looking to get a pickup over onto My Lanniston. Nice double kill from the Vamana pickup, and the Janus has finally returned to the team fight, looking to just apply some damage over here onto the beacon, but it does end up going the way of the Death Dealers.
Yeah, I thought Vamana was crazy for going back into that beacon with no ultimate, but they got out clean. It did not look like they were in too much danger. Storks goes down as well, and I mean, Death Dealers, they did get the beacon, but they lost 3 for it, and now Odin's Headhunters are in a perfect position to go for this Gold Fury, and I hope Nacho doesn't step up because that's exactly what Pop and Nike wants right here. I think they sort of overcommitted for a beacon. I see that too often. Beacon's incredibly important. I think you should try everything in your power to get it, besides dying, because it's not worth dying over. I just think you have to know when to full commit to get it, and you have to know when to just sort of like give it up. Now Death Dealers get the beacon and they lose the Gold Fury, and at the blink of an eye again, Odin's Headhunters are up 4K gold.
You're talking about seeing if Mr. Nacho steps up there, but Papa Nike, like, they're standing on a ward and then there is standing on a ward.
Yeah.
Papa Nike. Generally, if you're looking to ambush, you want to be standing on a sentry ward or in the vicinity of a sentry ward to know what's going on. So I don't think Mr. Nacho is going to be falling for that one anytime soon. Pyromancer is going to be spawning very, very soon. Krusty's Nuts goes up into the ultimate, able to steal away that blue buff. Ultimate's expended over here in the solo lane, and this Vamana is not phased. Now looking to collapse over onto Foosh. This Kukulkan extremely low. Thanatos going up in the air. That's 3 ultimates expended for the Death Dealers over here for the 2 of the Odin's Headhunters.
Yeah, only a Vamana and Athena ult expended, and it's looking like Death Dealers don't know what to do. And when Vamana ults, you have to just kind of leave, get them what they want, and get out. And that's not what's happening right now. Seb's probably going to go down to these 4 in the right.
and don't have the ultimate anymore on this Osiris pickup, and the damage is coming through, and that's going to put it away. Sev ends up falling to Krusty's nuts. So, horrific. Or Sunder, if you're trying to kill a Vamana. I'm just gonna say that right now to people. Horrific or Sunder if you're trying to kill a Vamana. If he's dealing decreased damage, he's not going to be life-stealing as much. If he's taking increased damage, then he's just going to be dying faster. That's Sunder's fantastic, by the way.
Yes, and that has to happen before he's 5-0-1, ladies and gentlemen. This Vamana is now running away with the game, and he's running at you as well. Like, it is very tough to deal with him from this spot. Your solo laner's 3 levels down. And Vamana is level 16, which has 2 levels on every player in the game, at least. Except for Cuckoo, who's level 15. But
and Aloydi is level 17.
Now he's level 17, yeah, exactly.
The side lanes from the Odin's Headhunters are just doing their job. We'll put it right there.
Yeah, they're so far ahead, and it's so tough for Odin's dealers or the death dealers to deal with Odin's Headhunters now. They're so big and so high in level. And if every time they've grouped, Vamana solo zones them all up or solo kills them all, and then Odin's Headhunters get whatever they want in the engagement.
Oh man, are we back into a 20-20? Although it looks like it's going to be 20-18 at the rate that some of these characters are going right now. I think the Odin's Headhunters are just setting a pace here in game number 2. Like, it felt, the early game, it was just scrappy, back and forth. We weren't more than 300 to 500 gold apart at any one time. But now that these objectives are flying, and you said it too, as soon as these objectives start happening, teams are grouping up, teams are looking for these fights, now we start to see that disparity, and we are seeing that disparity. And here comes Krusty's Nuts again, looking for Foosh, getting onto this back line, fighting a 1v3 that's entirely unnecessary, but he's doing it anyway. 1v4 goes up into the ultimate, Athena ultimate comes ripping through Aegis from Foosh. 1v5 now is not where you want to be, and that is a shutdown, gets a 1-for-1 trade. I get it, it looks funny, it is funny, but man, is it worth it? I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, the only way you lose when you're uber ahead is by completely inting into 5 people and dying. I think the word inting gets overused, I think. You know, obviously it's in for intentional feeding or for feeding intentionally, but that Vamana inted. Yeah, that was an int. That's what that looks like. It's not just when someone dies. That's what it looks like. You cannot be standing that far no matter how ahead you are.
I like strutting my stuff on these picks, but yeah, a little bit much.
Right, and that put that dealers right back in a spot where they can put themselves back in this game. They need to be looking at objectives. They need to be looking at getting levels on Mr. Nacho. They need to be looking at getting levels on Sev, who are both, 3 levels down in their respective lanes. They need to be getting XP from somewhere, and getting those deaths is the only window where they can get that.
Now you're saying it, but the problem in game number 1 that we had is they were getting these picks, it felt like, to make the kind of comebacks, but they weren't taking the opportunities, because they were getting picks at really good times too, at opportune times, but they just weren't taking advantage of it. Right now, look at that, they picked the Vamana, and all they got to show for it was a beacon. You not taking down tier towers that are sitting over in the side lanes. Look at towers over in the side lanes still have full bastions. You could have gone for that gold fury. You had a lot of potential to just strip away jungle farm, and it just feels like they're not applying the kind of pressure that they could with such an important pick off the map.
Yeah, I mean, the Vamana died 3 levels ahead, spawned 3 levels ahead, and continues to be 3 levels ahead. I think killing him almost did nothing, which doesn't excuse him, completely throwing away his life.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah.
But it's sort of, never punished for that.
Which they didn't punish me.
Right. Yeah, which is really bad if you're the death dealers, and I guess really good if you're Odin's Headhunters, because they're just going to continue taking stuff off the map.
We're just walking into the 2 members of... Here we go again. Up into the air goes the Thanatos. There goes... You know what? A lot's happening right now, and it's just Vamana running at people for the most part. Double kill for Krusty's Nuts right now. Osiris jumping on in, trying to get a little bit of something. But it's Mr. Nacho who ends up finding Papa Nike. Yeah, you're diving with your Vamana, but once your Vamana's out, there's nobody taking tower for you anymore, and you're just kind of the one who gets collapsed on as the squishier target.
Yeah, Papa Nike
that is the problem.
pretty quickly. That is a problem, but the problem is death dealers, they still can't get anything off of this. They're 3 strong. A lot of Odin's Headhunters are low.
they don't want to back up because if you back up, you sort of let them get away with that for free. But if you go in here, it doesn't look like an incredibly good fight for them. So they're sort of just hovering. I think they just have to give it and maybe try to get this Gold Fury.
It is a 4v4, and they do have the Athena ultimate to come back at any time. A little bit poked out, though, are two of the members of the Odin's Headhunters. Going to be end up walking back. Doesn't seem like Death Dealers want to pick this one up, though. Again, I think it's just that whole taking advantage of opportunities and making decisions to get yourself back into that situation that you need to be in this game. So, little unfortunate, but I don't think the Death Dealers are out of it at all. It's a 5K game right now, going into the 20-minute mark here in game number 2 of the Death Dealers versus the Odin's Headhunters. And one of the things that I do want to talk about this Ravana going in with this Vamana thing going on right now is the build, okay? Now, you have this extremely squishy build, one that I don't exactly agree with as a jungle player. Diving into the back line and getting into these tier 2 towers, you're going to be the target of choice. You know, you don't have any defense online, you don't have any HP, you don't have really anything to support you. So as soon as your Vamana stops supporting you, or even when he is supporting you, you're just going to be the target of choice. 1000%.
Yeah. And that's something that Death Dealers need to look at and abuse. If Vamana and Raven are diving you together, you can kill Raven and sort of live with whatever Vamana doesn't take. You know what I mean? And that's sort of the position you're in right now. But Raven is completely killable. You know, Janus has sort of gotten in there every fight as well. He's completely killable. You can't ignore Vamana because he's just doing so much and he's so far ahead. But you do have to take the opportunities that, you know, these squishier gods are giving, which I don't think they're seeing.
Right now, yeah, as we can see, just absolutely running through the back line. A really good combination from Aloydi and Krusty's Nuts right there to get the kill. A double kill right now over here in the back line. Krusty's Nuts ends up finding my Lanniston, and now the team of Odin's Headhunters is running through this team fight. Spirit of the Nine Winds a little bit off the mark right there. Thor's doing his best to hold off the onslaught of the Odin's Headhunters, and it's Sev doing a little bit of an up down over here on a Papa Nike. I don't think you're going to be getting much off that other than the rest of the members of the Odin's Headhunters making their way on in and looking to get a little bit of a pickup onto this Osiris, and they do just that. A second kill for Aloydi in this team fight, and now there's only 2 remaining. One over in this fight ends up falling. It's Thor's a triple kill right now for Aloydi in this team fight, and then Janus trying to make his way back on in, but whoosh, getting absolutely ran at. The initial target of this entire team fight is the last one standing, and whoosh ends up finding one, but Aloydi, an unofficial quadra here in this team fight. What are you going back in there for, Guzzy? Come on, your team had that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just getting greedy for the kill, and Aloydi getting greedy for the tower and dying for it. You know, that is the worst if I can go is just getting, you know, decided. But I think that Attilas did a really good job of sort of like in the scrap, sort of living long enough to get another person in there. But they need to just like for these fights, they all need to be grouped together, and they all need to either disengage or engage together. They're all just sort of like tying on these staggered death timers, and then someone spawns and they scrappily get a kill at the end, and or you know, Odin's Headhunters overextend, which they've done plenty of times this game. But the Death Dealers just need, like we've been saying and harping on this entire game, is just capitalizing on the small amount of mistakes that Headhunters are making.
You guys, Vamana's alive. How can you tell? Double relics by Mr. Nacho. That's not going to be enough to end up defending. I think you're better off just auto-attacking that baby. But Krusty's Nuts ends up falling. Foosh ends up picking one himself. It's a 2-for-1 right now. Lanniston ended up expending the ultimate. And Papa Nike is lurking around nearby again, looking for these fights, looking for these picks. I think Odin's Headhunters right now are kind of just not making proper decisions with these fights. Like, you're getting picks, but again, we were at 5K 5 minutes ago. We were at 5K right now. So what do you have to show for these kills?
Nothing. I mean, you could see them on different pages, you know, from the kills itself. You saw Cuckoo standing in mid by himself, and the rest of Death Dealers are running to the right side of the map. I don't particularly know what for. Maybe it was to get the wave and save their tower. Maybe it's to take down the tier 1 that's really low and right side. But whatever you guys do, it's got to be done together, because Cuckoo dies for free, and then you do get the return kill on Robin, which is nice, but, you know, he's already so ahead that it doesn't really matter. You already got the shutdown from last fight, so, you know, it's sort of just like a trade for no reason on both teams. It's like, what is the point? It's like now Death Dealers are in the same spot they've been in, where they're on the back foot, and Odin's Headhunters have control of the entire map against them.
You're just trying to wait for the arena tickets to show up, I think. I honestly, at this point, I think that's the general consensus I'm walking away with, is they're waiting for the arena tickets to show up. Aloydi looking to get some damage off onto Mr. Nacho, ends up half healthing him with just a few autos, gets body blocked by the minions. Minions are OP. Goes up into the ultimate, but that ain't gonna be enough, buddy. 3 shots fired, 3 shots land, but it is not enough damage. Ends up dashing into the wall. Here comes the Athena ultimate as well. Goes up into the air. Aegis is already expended. No dash as well. Fush ends up getting that one onto Aloydi, expending himself a little bit too far. Yet again, with this Odin's Headhunters decision making.
Yeah, huge overextension from the Rama, just trying to get that solo kill on the Ishtar. But you see Death Dealers are already split up. You see Osiris and Ares over on the right side of the map, and their carries just aren't with them yet.
Xenophonics booked out to half health, and that's going to look very enticing for these members of the Death Dealers. Xenophonics ends up falling to MyLanniston. This Thanatos is getting back in this game, getting up to this point where the damage matters. Papa Nike using that Mystic Rush aggressively into 3 members of the Death Dealers. Mr. Nacho expending the Aegis, but ends up getting the kill as well. Beads expended for Guzzy over here. Gonna have to portal himself on out. The chains work good. That's the second time now on that very same wall for this Janus.
Man, I mean, Odin's Headhunters have headhunted a little too much. They're looking for picks, they're looking for 1v1s everywhere, and it sort of cost them almost everything at this point. It's 26 minutes into the game. Both teams are basically level 20 outside of, you know, MyLannister, you know, on the Death Dealers, but it's looking like Headhunters have, you know, thrown this game away. You know, Death Dealers are in only 2k gold down, which doesn't, you know, really matter a bunch at this point. It's the difference between a tier 1 and a tier 2 on most gods. They have Fire Giant, and they've won the past 3 fights by just getting a pick by a Headhunter overextending, and everything's sort of evened up now, except Death Dealers have the Fire Giant. They're back in this game.
Doth my eyes deceive me? Was an objective taken here in game number 2? As you're saying, Death Dealers finally getting to this point where it feels like they're recognizing, hey, we're getting caught up. And honestly, this entire time, taking these fights, getting their levels online, getting their items online, getting themselves to keep this gap exactly where they want it to. They're like, okay, well, if the Odin's Headhunters are going to keep running at us aimlessly, we're going to take advantage of that. Let this go late. Let us get caught up. Let us get to the point where we need to team fight as a 5v5. Take that fight, win that fight, get the Fire Giant, take this fight now that we're seeing right there. As ultimates are flying left and right, MyLanniston ends up finding Papa Nike to kick this one off. Krusty's Nuts now walking into the back line of the Death Dealers. Still 5 members strong, though. And there goes that. Janus ult through space and time, ends up ripping through it, missing everybody, but Aloydi ends up finding one. Double relics popped by this. Rama finds a kill, though. MyLanniston ends up finding a second one. Janus ends up falling. Chains are good. Thor's landing all of these today right now. And Mr. Nacho gets the pick over onto the Rama. And now the Death Dealers 4 strong, marching up the mid lane.
Man, the Death Dealers play that fight so well together. Like, as a 5v5 unit, you know, their team comp, I would give them a bit of the edge with just having like the Kukulkan be able to hit a big Spirit of the Night wins and sort of win the fight. It's I didn't think it would happen. You know, when the Vamana was 6-0-1, I was thinking game's over. It's curtains. Death Dealers, death has been dealt. The Odin's Headhunters have taken away the game, but you know they have proved me wrong, which is fantastic for them. They finally took the opportunities that the Headhunters were giving them by just being super overconfident, you know, with their lead, and it's looking like all Death Dealers from here on out.
Here's the difference that we were seeing from game number 1 to game number 2 is now the Death Dealers feeling confident, feeling like they got a little bit something under their belt, are making the calls to go for these objectives, taking towers, taking Gold Furies here. You know, they're taking the initiative to make plays, and I think that is phenomenal because now the gold is in their favor. Granted by a K, but they were, what, 5k down for about 15 minutes of fighting. 5k for 15 minutes of fighting. Get themselves a beacon. They still have towers they can clean up. There's still potential for this gold to shift even further.
And Xenophonics getting poked out a little bit in this fight. The through space and time was expending. Krusty's Nuts dashing on into the back line, seeing if he could get a little bit of something. Poke damage, but Papa Nike, good night! My Lanniston has all eyes on you when you have low HP.
Yeah, and something we haven't talked about is every time someone on Odin's Headhunters would overextend, we would see them get the Athena ult. And Athena hasn't hit 20 yet. Only person in the game to not hit that 20 mark, and it's really hurting them.
Lloydie did not have the beads, had to use the up-down from his ultimate, and what I noticed as well was the Athena ult got expended, but he got deleted way too quickly. The beads were used by Guzzy, but it is not enough to keep him alive as he's still getting hunted by Lanniston. This Thanatos is 20. Now the Death Dealers are marching into the middle. Phoenix taking it easily, no contestation. 5 strong, 5 marching into this Titan room right now, extremely healthy. There goes the ultimate from Krusty's Nuts, but it is not keeping him alive. Okay, well, maybe it is keeping him alive, as those cleave auto attacks plus the cleave autos from the Titan are enough to defend this one. He ends up falling, but gets one and a lot of HP bars. Now Papa Nike is returned, but that is a successful, well, Titan defense, to say the least, here at the 30-minute mark.
I love that end call. You know, your Death Dealers, you've won the past 2 fights. Everyone's almost dead. You get in there, you go for the Titan. Then you look at the map, you realize there's 3 towers still up, 2 Phoenixes still up. That Titan was never going down there. But I do still love the call. I just think, you know, Death Dealers with this, you know, pyro that they're about to get, you know, they're about to get another bomb on them. Fire Giant spawning soon. I do think they have to take a couple of these towers down or kill all 5. Those are the only ways they really end this game.
1000%. We need to be sending somebody over to this dual lane, or maybe even just sending our entire unit over there, applying pressure down this lane and just shoving it down and forcing the Odin's Headhunters to make a decision. Either you're defending your base right now, or you're going and getting this EFG. You make the choice right now, or we're ending the game.
And man, this game has flipped on its head. I mean, look at the stat lines for the supports right now. You see Xeno 0-7 and 10. You see Thor 7-2 and 15. It looks like Death Dealers were never losing if you looked at the stat lines right now. Insane for the Death Dealers to still mentally be in this game after like such an atrociously like mid game going so wrong. You know, the early game was pretty even. They sort of went back and forth with the kills, but Odin Headhunters were so incredibly ahead, you know, after that state.
I think
Really good on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, outside of Krusty's Nuts, just judging by the posture of the Odin's Headhunters, I feel like they feel pressured as well. You know, we're seeing Athena dash away as soon as somebody walks up to them. Look at the positioning of the members of the Odin's Headhunters. They're not so headstrong as they were. Again, outside of Krusty's Nuts, over here trying to just be Vamana and exist in the faces of the Death Dealers. A little bit worried if they continue to do that. It looks like Papa Nike wants to get something. A good blink from Thorus, ends up finding 2, ends up getting 2. Mr. Nacho just deleting. That is a 2-for-1 right now to initiate this fight. Krusty's Nuts goes up into the ultimate, and it's just gonna end up having to walk himself on out of there with it. Chains are good, but you don't have anybody with you as of yet. Now here come the cavalry. Death Dealers trying to get at least one more pick, but I don't think they're gonna be able to do any 2-for-2 here in this fight right now, and probably just gonna end up in a reset.
Yeah, I think Thor plays the beginning of that fight so well. I think the way they, you know, sort of like initiated everything made it so easy for people to line up the Spirit of the Nine Winds and get themselves a double kill. They spend a little too much time looking at you know, Krusty's Nuts. Obviously, they're huge. They're Vamana. You know, they're running at you. You have to be able to really like dial it back and just look at the carries. Janice and Rama were by themselves. If they kill them both, Vamana really can't accomplish much.
Trying to take the EFG as 3, a little bit of a bait to see what the Odin's Headhunters members will do, but they're holding strong nonetheless. Honestly, I think I would have liked to see just maybe go around. You're not taking this EFG, especially off the back end of that fight without a reset. Probably just reset, look for something across the map, look to just get a little bit more something, extend that lead just a little bit more, maybe go and take that Primal Fury, allowing you to deal that increased damage here in the late game to that. Because right now, that middle Phoenix is going to be respawning, and all that pressure on the base of the Odin's Headhunters, irrelevant.
Yeah, I'd almost like to see them fight over Beacon too. It would get this left tier 1 down, and then when you do actually get a kill or a wipe potentially, you can actually end the game. Which is something they're going to struggle with all these towers up on the map. But it looks like both teams are just looking to have a 5v5 around fire, you know, sort of like dancing around the idea of it. It's going to be interesting to see who goes in on who. I feel like Headhunters still feel like they're on top, you know, from being on top for the majority of the game, and Death Dealers sort of are ahead now. So I'm interested to see who starts this fight and sort of who capitalizes on what happened.
It's very interesting. I'm like learning stuff too as I'm watching this with that FG still sitting there lingering that entire time. So I'm seeing now, okay, I'm gonna hold that. Blink in from Thors gets the ultimate off onto Xenophonics. A huge Spirit of the Nine Winds ends up finding one, and a perfectly good pick right now from the Death Dealers to initiate this one. My Lanniston trying to get on out of there, but the Mystic Rush is good. Papa Nike ends up getting the return pick. Jungle for support so far to kick off this team fight. Krusty's Nuts going up into that ultimate, marching into the back line. See if you could get something, but it's only going to be himself on the gray screen. Mr. Nacho expending that. Aegis gets the dash away. Aloydi looking for something himself, getting the Aegis expended as well. Sev now coming on in, and it looks like Thors is gonna pick up another one for himself on this Ares. Good, wow. Yeah, Kukulkan's in late game, by the way, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, fantastic play by Foosh on the Cuckoo. Thor's hard carried that fight. This is a Thors of nature right now. He got a beautiful initiation, pulls 2 off the ultimate. They insta-kill someone on the Cuckoo. Then he turns around. They see Vamana ult. He hits the curse. They kill Vamana, you know. And then he turns around. And then the one guy that does gets away does get picked up by Foosh on the Kukulkan. But what a beautiful fight by Thors in the Ares. I don't know why this guy was playing EDC game 1. I have no insider knowledge on that, but he has done so well in the late stage of this game in particular to really bring it home.
Extremely early Spirit of the Nine Winds. I'm a little bit worried now that Through Space and Time is available, and it did hit. Well, it's going to go the way of the Death Dealers. I was holding my breath there for a second to see how that was going to go. Death Dealers end up securing the EFG on 5 members. Now here at the 37-minute mark, gonna pick up this Pyromancer, get themselves a second Pyro Bomb, and now I think we're gonna start seeing a really heavy shift. Like we've seen a shift going in the way. Now we get those towers we can clean up. Now it feels like it really. God, I'm just gonna keep saying it feels like Death Dealers are in the driver's seat. We'll say that. Oh look, Raven Ward.
Shout out to Raven Ward. I think they got to take some of these towers on the left side. I like just running it down mid, though. They do just win a 5v5 if they just play their cards correctly. Odin's Headhunters have to have a fantastic defense to win this.
Bomb ends up knocking that one down, but Thors is finding himself extremely low for quite the important member here in this team fight to fall so early. Aloydi ends up getting that one, and now the Vamana is marching into the backline. You don't have the Ankh for this Vamana, and that spells danger. Foosh eating the Through Space in Time. Sev extremely deep. Mr. Nacho ends up finding Pop and Nike off of a blink in from the overzealous jungle scene if you could pick up one, but ends up losing his life. Although 2 for 1 here, 2 EFGs end up falling off. And here comes the Athena ultimate. It looks like Odin's Headhunters want to take advantage of the situation and march themselves down mid lane.
Yeah, and the unstoppable force of nature meets an immovable object and sort of walks up and just dies. You know, they didn't reset after the fire. They were half HP already. They walk up, you know, they panic ult. They do miss, you know, everyone with an Ares ultimate, which, you know, it's clear that they were panicked. They're low HP, just trying to get all their damage off, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, Odin's Headhunters take complete advantage, and it looks like they're running it right back down mid.
Extreme dash in. Foosh ends up, well, we get Aloydi dashing in as well. Mr. Nacho ends up getting that one. Timeline is massive, but not as massive as Mr. Nacho's damage. Melting Krusty's Nuts. My Lanniston looking to get a little bit of a pickup. He's going to be moving extremely quick at this Athena, and now Janice silenced out, unable to go anywhere. 4 members off of the map right now for the Odin's Headhunters. Only Papa Nike to defend. You have your ADC. You have your jungle. You have Thors making his way on up here as well. All 5 members strong, all 5 members healthy. There goes the Raven Ward, but it is not going to be enough. Death Dealers are marching into this Titan room, looking to take us to game number 3.
Yeah, and that's my Lanson right there. Coming in, getting a triple kill, getting it all done. Definitely what we were missing from game one on the Alpong. Beautiful game on the Thanatos. This game, and there's really not much, Papa Nike could do to stop this. They are going to be taking the Titan here.
Putting it away right now. Death Dealers showing us that they came out to play, and we are in for an exciting season opener here for Arcane's division. Just very... Now, I don't want to say the Odin's Headhunters might have thrown that one a little bit, but
No.
might have just said that the Odin's Headhunters threw that one a little bit. You're doing this constant rundown with the Vamana, Ravana. You have your Athena ult, Rama, but like, look at the potential that has if you're doing it together. Oh, my Vamana's going and ulting in. My Ravana should be a little bit tankier, in my personal opinion, so that he can jump in here with the Vamana. And now you have an Athena ult coming in over the top to be just this full engaged force. Janus should be moving around with this team, being the assassin of the team. You have two warriors plus a tactical nuke Athena coming in. You have the assassin with the Janus, and then all Rama's got to do is go up in the air when his team's dive and get the cleanup on the picks, But the problem is they weren't doing that. It just felt like the Odin's Headhunters were like, I'm just going to send Vamana Ravana in. Vamana Ravana, go ahead. Keep going in like this. And it only works so far. It only works so far until the Death Dealers team comp starts grouping up, starts getting their damage off, gets to these points in the games where they're getting picks. They're happy taking these trades. The shutdowns are massive. That's gold in the pocket for them. And even after that, it's allowing them to catch up. Gold in the pocket, levels, XP, all that jazz. And it's playing that extremely patient by them. Although it looked like it was just a constant brawl, it worked out in their favor. They got to the late game. They took good fights in the late game and ended up getting us to game number 3.
Truly a great display of how to keep your head in the game, for sure. It did look like they were just getting 1v5 by Vamana. Odin Death Dealers didn't even need any other characters on the map. They just needed the Vamana. You saw the overconfidence sort of really start to overtake them when you could see that anytime someone would go in by themselves, Xeno would show up to sort of help them get up, and then Xeno was dying with them, dies 4 or 5 times in a row, and then was the last person to hit level 20. They were level 16 while the rest of the game was level 20. 9k player damage. They really weren't too effective when their team was just baiting them into these random deaths on the map. And I think it really stalled what they can do in the later stages of the game, and it really let Thorson the squad sort of like take things down and take the game home.
Thorson the squad putting away game number 2, taking us to game number 3, evening out our first Canes division set. How is this going to end? Who's going to pull it back here? Is the Death Dealers presence going to stay, or the Odin's Headhunters going to pull themselves together, pull up their pants, and play like a team? We're going to find out in game number 3 in a moment. We'll be back with picks and bans after this short intermission. We will see you then. Welcome back to the Frank's Retirement Home League Canes Division Season Opener. My name is Zach Vaxel. Joining me is the Divine Ape still, and our fantastic spectator for today is the Wolfie Pup. It has been an exciting season opener so far. What do you think, Divine?
Yeah, as exciting as it gets, to be honest. You've gotten both ends of Smite, very good, very bad, very in the middle, and very fun. At the end of the day, these are very fun matches to watch, neck and neck for both these teams.
Neck and neck, it has been a lot of back and forth, a lot of missteps, and a lot of brawls, a lot of fights, a lot of picks. But here we are in game number 3 and seeing who's going to walk away taking this season opener, taking our first win here in week number 1. And here come the changes in the bans. No Thor's Ares. And honestly, after that game number 2, that man was putting in work, straight up work. It was great. It looked good, and I wouldn't want to see it again if I was going against him.
And what I do want to see again is the Kukulkan lock.
Athena.
And then they just played. You don't really want to give that back to Death Dealers. I think they just played it so well. And on the other side, you see them take Rama and Athena for themselves as well, sort of like a flip flop between Death Dealers and Odin's Headhunters.
Yeah, right now Death Dealers are looking at them and saying, anything you can do, I can do better. And putting Thor's on this Athena pick, now you're giving him some global pressure. And I'm looking forward to see what this guy can do. The amount of setup he was applying with a Blink Ares ultimate.
Ganesh.
Constantly just getting the setup for his Kukulkan. Granted, they don't have the Kukulkan, they don't have the Ares this time, but we have a Blink taunt from the Athena. We have a dash taunt from the Athena that we can constantly have. And now we have the Rama to just apply that kind of shredding damage. So I'm expecting good things. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and how they utilize it. I'm expecting to see. I'm not expecting. I'm interested to see what they end up picking to combo off of this Athena taunt. Meanwhile, over on the opposite end, we see the Odin's Headhunters locking in that Vamana yet again. They're saying that wasn't the problem. And maybe I agree a little bit. Maybe it was a little bit more on the decision making of the Vamana, but let's see him pull it together here in game number 3. And it is the Ganesha locked in for the support pickup over for the Odin's Headhunters, applying this kind of midline support. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Somebody who is relevant at all points of the game, can apply the silence, can apply a nice grab into a knock-up, has that ultimate for shred or for zoning or for lockdown. Just a really good all-around pick.
Yeah, and we are admittedly giving a lot of crap to Krusty's Nuts for their play sort of like in the later stages of the game. But I don't want to take anything away. They ran the first 20 minutes of that game by themselves. It was, they put on a clinic. They were like 6-0-1, like 15 minutes. Incredible dominance from the solo lane, really good rotations into the mid lane. They played that fantastic. All they need to do is once they get to the point where they're grouping up as a team, is just be together with their team diving. And then that game's almost won, and there's nothing that Death Dealers can do. I just think they need to dial it back when it's time to dial it back. But Krusty's Nuts was not the problem in that first 20 minutes of the game. They put on a show.
Oh, yeah. Now it just comes down to Odin's Headhunters shot caller grabbing onto his ear and pulling him around like a mom in a grocery store and saying, come, we're doing this now. Stop acting out. Come on, we're going. I don't care what you think. And just pulling him along. Scylla finishing off the picks for the Death Dealers here in phase number 1. There's kind of that follow-up we were looking for, the setup that they needed. I think this pick has a lot of potential. Do I think it's the best pick? Not necessarily, but I think it suits what they're trying to do very nicely. A lot of secure, a lot of burst, a lot of potential. Like we were saying, that root does good work. So here are bans in phase number 2, though. Get rid of that Nike, get rid of that Thanatos. We don't want to see that anymore. Get rid of that Ishtar, get rid of that Chernobog. We don't want to see that anymore. And it is Amaterasu as our first pickup here. First time seeing it picked banned at all here in our, first set.
I like Ama here. I think a lot of people would look at the Amaterasu and say, well, why isn't this Bellona? Why isn't this Osiris? And I think they did try to match that Vamana pressure with the Osiris, and it really didn't work. So I think going towards something like Amaterasu that's just going to be able to keep up in farm and then have a more impactful team fight through the large team fight ultimate, I think is the route you want to go if you are the Death Dealers, because trying to match that Vamana's pressure did not work in game 2, even though they did come out with the win. So I do like them, sort of changing the game plan in solo.
Yeah, remember we did see too
Medusa.
towards the Phalanx start.
Mhm.
It went the Berserkers route. I do want to say that kind of leaned in a little bit towards that lack of ability. You know, you're not going that Phalanx Glads, and that is just iconic for Osiris. And if you're gonna play that pick, I feel like that's kind of just the necessary route that you need to go. But I do agree. I think this Amaterasu is going to be able to apply a lot of shred. You know, you're not going to be doing much with the
A
ultimate against
Wheelix.
Vamana, but I think that's perfectly fine. Over on the opposite end, though, we do see Fenrir, Kukulkan. I'm sorry, they just traded on me. Fenrir Medusa getting locked in. I like the Fenrir. I don't. Actually, I'm a little bit skeptical about the Fenrir. I'm not a big fan of the Medusa quite at all, though. I am not seeing what this pick is going to be doing. She feels like she really benefits from the Bluestone builds, and I don't see that as an avenue right now.
Yeah, I think crit is so strong. Medusa, not a god that really elects to go crit. I mean, she can. Obviously, it's not like she can't build it, but her all her abilities proc like the hunter proc items. So it's similar to like Bluestone. You think like full power, like going Crusher and things like that, and Heartseeker. Or Medusa, sorry, can hit incredibly hard. But I don't think she can hit as hard as crit. And someone like Rama, who is all auto attacks, is just going to be critting everyone in front of them. So I, I'm interested to see what build they go if they elect to go crit, if they elect to go full power. But I really think there's a lot of hunters that could abuse crit open that could have been picked instead of the Medusa.
Absolutely. It is the Wheelix getting locked in as the final pick for the Death Dealers. Pick that we saw in game number 1. Did not see it at all in game number 2. However, I think it has good potential here in game number 3 to synergize again, so long as we see a little bit of a how we utilize that ultimate. We're going to go back to that every single game, I feel like, with some god. I think the same thing applies to this Amaterasu, to the Scylla, you know, how we use our Athena engages. Again, over on the opposite end with the Fenrir, the Kukulkan. A lot of potential here. But going back to that Medusa pick, it's just, I just don't think she's going to be clearing the wave. And into a Rama, that worries me. You know, if you're not going that Bluestone trans build, you're not clearing wave at all. You know, you press your acid spit onto the wave, and what happens? Maybe you kill archers, and that's a maybe, a hard maybe. You know, that's not going to happen until you get a couple points into that ability, so not until later. Meanwhile, Rama's just going to activate his one and just shred through the wave, and now you're getting run at by Rama Athena immediately at the start of the game. I'm worried.
I'm worried too, especially with Medusa Dash being so easy to bait out and it doesn't really go that far and it's easy to body block. I think Medusa is the focal point for the first 10 minutes of this match to see like how they take advantage of the Medusa sort of just being like a worse character than Rama at this point, and how maybe the Medusa elects to build, and I think that's where all the question marks on this Headhunters draft is just on this Medusa. I think the rest of both teams are very good. It sort of just comes down to who's going to execute.
As we're moving here into game number 3, I have to ask you, Twitch chat had their opportunity to vote. After game number 1, what we saw, game number 2 with, again, you were talking about how great this Vamana looked in the early game. We got it back here in game number 3, but then there's the dual lane matchup that we're seeing here with the Death Dealers versus Odin's Headhunters. Who are you taking here in game number 3?
I think Krusty's Nuts put on such a clinic on the Vamana. However, Death Dealers are going to be ready. I think they have a much more better comp at team fighting, which it seems like both teams want to do. I think they've drafted to be the Vamana with gods like Scylla that can just burst them. I'm taking Death Dealers for game 3. That's who I think it's got it.
Death Dealers for game 3. I'm gonna love to see it. I think, you know what, I'll follow you on that one. I do love the setup potential. I love the amount of pressure that's going to be coming out of this dual lane, and we're seeing it already as they're making their way on over. We're hard out clearing by multiple seconds. Taunt in immediately, but gets grabbed immediately. Thor's on the back end of that damage. It maybe bit off a little bit too much here in the early game. You know, you have that early game potential, a lot of that pressure, but when you're fighting into the wave, probably not the best choice. Let's see if they can clear it up by clearing up this minion wave and then maybe looking for a fight as Xenophonics himself is getting poked out nicely, and the jungles are making their rotation over together this time, holding hands.
Yeah, they see each other. Fenrir versus a Willick, something we didn't really bring up a lot, but a matchup that Fenrir really struggles in. He's got a lot of leaps, and a Willick's is pretty good against leaps. As you can see there, Fenrir, not a good idea to scrap. I think a Willick's might be getting first blood here.
Yeah, unfortunately does not have that summon. Suku is not able to chase after it. Opted for the 3 instead for the knockup, but Aloydi not paying too much attention over here is going to get feather stepped, caught out, forced to use the beads on this Medusa already. Fenrir jumping back in, looking to get a pickup. Who's going to get the first blood? It's going Papa Nike. Odin's Headhunters take that one away. Death Dealers get the return pickup. And that is a 2-for-1 over here. Jungle ADC for ADC, and Xenophonics wanting to become the target. Dash in from Thor's, looking to get the triple kill right now. Death Dealers are locking down this Ganesha. Body blocks are good. Feather step into the tower, seals the deal. 3 kills right out of the gate for the Death Dealers. Did not get that first blood, but man, what a good 3 pick.
If you ask me when the game starts, oh, Ape, who do you want to see the Death Dealers get their leads on? I would say Thor's and my Lanston, and that's exactly what's happened. 3 kills, 2 kills and 2 assists to each of them, and that is not a good look if you're Odin's Headhunters. You've typically had the lead in the early game of both games 1 and game 2, and for Death Dealers to get off to such a big start in terms of kills is really scary.
Definitely evened out that first blood gold, but the amount of pressure that my Lanston has right now, as we can see immediately onto Papa Nike, forced to jump away, is going to have the Brutalize to get a little bit extra distance. And here comes the dash in from Fush. The root is good. Papa Nike ends up falling again. This Fenrir is off the map. The pressure is in favor of my Lanston. And honestly, said it in game number 1, I just feel like Awilix is probably the best ability-based auto attack, kind of just one of our best jungles, just super scaly, a lot of potential, and it's really going to come down to this level 5 once these ultimates start getting online, how well they get utilized. Rotation in, good invade from the Death Dealer, securing away the second purple buff. Extremely good applying pressure over here to the duo lane, and meanwhile over in the solo lane, exactly what we expected is the Vamana applying solo pressure.
Yeah, it's always weird talking about what kind of God of Williks is. You're like, well, ability based, but
right, but
they're ultra stim that gives like a ton of attack speed, and you kind of want attack speed because of the way feather stuff works, and so it's always tough to sort of figure out what it is, and it looks like they're getting even more aggressive in the duo lane here.
Double horrific. Now it looks like Ganesha might be out of position. Xenophonics ends up falling again. Thor's picking that one up. 2 kills for this Athena. Another gank over here in the duo lane. My Lanniston just putting up a tent or a clinic. Either way, one of the 2 over here in this duo lane. We're going to find out soon once this Awilix starts getting online. Got the Jotun's Wrath built.
5 kills to 1. And the oddest part is if you look at the gold lead, it's a tiny bit in Odin Headhunter's favor. Obviously not enough for there to be like any impact, but Odin Headhunters they've taken these deaths in stride, and they're not letting it put them behind in the gold department. They're all doing a good job of farming. Obviously duo is the lane that's behind, and solo's the lane that's kind of ahead, and that's why it's evening out. But Odin Headhunters not letting it get to them that they're down 4 kills, and this Awilix is off to a fantastic start.
Really off to a fantastic start. Looking to get a little bit of something, moving aggressively into the jungle, making their way on over to mid lane, seeing what we can get here. Seems like things are kind of settling down. Players are wanting to look for a little bit more farm. We probably are going to see another rotation over for this next purple buff. I know I would, if I'm the Death Dealers, keep that pressure up over onto the duo lane, who's now holding the wave at their tower line. Don't blame them for doing that at all, but no. Guzzy might be in a difficult position. Beads expended for this Kukulkan, forcing the ultimate as well, marching back into the mid lane, seeing if he can get out. Papa Nike doing the best to peel for his mid lane. Good feather step onto Papa Nike, but the pluck comes right back in. Launch was good, but the Ragnarok was better, but they get the kill to make that the double kill over here. 2 for 2 in the middle lane. Well, yeah, that is just
what a skirmish there. I mean, so you can see the thought process on both teams as that happens. You see, the Fenrir has to leap away, And if you're Fenrir, that feels bad, obviously. But he gets pulled. Beats is a little late on the gravity surge, so you think it's a free kill. Then he just ults, grabs Athena, brings him into the tower. But you see they're both low, and Athena's taking the tower. So if you're my Lance, and you're like, oh, I just jump in and get these free 2 kills. So he does. But then they both end up dying to the tower, and it's a 2-for-2 trade. What when you're ahead like this in kills, you sort of give up your shutdown bonus to them. So it ends up being a headhunters come out on top of this like random 2v2 trade in mid. It's such an interesting play from both teams, but you really don't like to see that if you're Death Dealers, because now the lead you've established is kind of gone.
It's exactly what I was going to say. You know, you're diving into this tower for these 2 kills that are truly meaningless at this point. You know, if you're not able to get those free picks, you're 4-0. You're 4-0-3 at that. That's a shutdown. You know, you're giving up that gold, you're giving up that XP, and even your Athena, who's 2-0-4 at the time. I agree with you 1000% right there. It just doesn't feel good for the Death Dealers right there. Dharmic Pillars expended here in the mid to see if they could get a little bit of something, and oh, there goes the Raven Ward. It's always in the corner of the screen that it just moves.
So graceful. It just flies across.
Just elegant.
Yeah. Love seeing a Raven Ward. It looks like Death Dealers are gonna forget the deaths they give up and just go for this Gold Fury. No one's really in a position to respond. They are getting close there, and I think they notice now that this Gold Fury is being done.
Damage check, and it looks like Thors is going to end up falling, collapsing right now. My Lanniston gets the feather step. Might be in a little bit of danger. Papa Nike looked to get something. Ray, we're holding off on that one. Ragnarok is good, but not good enough. Whoosh ends up getting the I'm a Monster, landing it onto the Papa Nike, and just ends up falling. This Fenrir's 1-4 right now, and I honestly feel like the only reason he got the kill before was thanks to Tower in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, and Foosh plays that perfect on the Scylla. Like, the Fenrir goes onto a Willix, and Foosh knows that that's going to happen, so he pre-Alma Monsters via Willix, knowing the Fenrir is going to be there. Yeah, and then, boom, gets the Fenrir kill, and My Lanston lives, doesn't give another kill out to the Fenrir, which would have been detrimental for his lead. Would have been another, like, shutdown, so beautifully played by Foosh to sort of keep them in the game and get ahead, and they could set themselves up for another goal through.
Yeah, I love the face check, damage check, see how much we can do. It's unfortunate that Thors ended up falling there, like a little bit, maybe too much of a commit for not wanting to expend too much, but works out in the end. They get the pick that they were looking for. Gravity Surge over onto Aloy. He does not have the mana, use the dash already, and that is a pick over here for My Lanniston. Another one for this Awilix. I think Awilix is good, guys.
Yeah, that was incredible. I mean, you see Medusa, do their best to get away, but they know that Medusa does not have beats there, and really not much Aloy can do to survive that. If you get Gravity Surge, you're kind of just dead there.
Speaking of dead there, oh, caught the dash too. Xenophonics dropping the ultimate, but it's not enough. Ends up falling, and right now I'm looking towards the Gold Fury. If I'm the Death Dealers, you just gotta pick over on the mid. You just gotta pick over on the I'm sorry, on the mid, on the ADC, I meant to say, and the support. Dual lane dead. Mid ended up backing. If that was called out, that's Gold Fury all day.
Odd that they don't.
Right.
You see, they killed the entire dual lane. They're behind in gold right now, so that would sort of put them a little bit ahead. They opt to not go it. I mean, they had everyone there. I mean, you can obviously like set yourselves up. Maybe you back, you get a couple items, then you go for it. Because the odds of Death Dealers winning a fight at this point are really good. They've won every fight in the game so far. So maybe that's their plan. But I do think that they had an opportunity to get the gold that they gave up.
Jumping back in onto a Lloydie. The Athena ult comes through as well. Mr. Nacho ends up picking up that kill. But look who decided to make the rotation. Oh, well, never mind. He just decided to teleport over here just to teleport right on back. Used his teleport to get to this side of the map. Realized, well, that fight is long gone and over. And then just decided to take the pad back.
Yeah, as a solo laner myself, I've done those plays where I'm like, all right, let me go over to the left, see what I can do, see, help them out. They're getting behind. They die before you get there, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna go back and catch my wave. I'll see you guys later, and that's what happens. Unfortunate, really. I think Death Dealers are doing a good job of shutting down this Medusa, like all the weaknesses we talked about, during picks and bans. are sort of coming up. She can't really get away from these ganks with a weak dash, and you can only beat once every 160 seconds or so. They're gonna kill you every time. But what Death Dealers aren't doing is getting the farm off these kills. They're still down about 1,000 gold. No gold Fury taken off Odin's Headhunters. This is just from getting farm.
Yeah, I don't think the Odin's Headhunters are in a bad position, needless to say, because what I was going to say was the Vamana still hasn't rotated on the map. Obviously, he did right there, but it didn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
Because Vamana hasn't made his way across the map. He's got a 2-level lead. Well, a level and a half, we'll say, but 2-level lead. He's got an entire item ahead of this Amaterasu right now. Got the Phalanx, got the Berserkers. When he comes, makes his way on over, gets that ultimate off, he's going to be a menace in these fights. I'm just wondering if the Death Dealers are on the clock, so to speak.
Yeah, I think they on the clock is a good way to put it. They are late for timers for jungle buffs and things of that nature. They are just behind in gold, and it looks like it's all coming from the solo side. And very smart of Poppin Nike to, they went down 4 times trying to help out duo and mid, and it didn't work out. So let's go over to solo, see if I can get some farm there. And they sort of brought themselves back into this game. Only a level down when you die 4 times early game, it should be much more than that. As Death Dealers do pick up their first objective, the Stygian Peak.
Ultimate expended from this Amaterasu, and now it looks like Fenrir and Vamana gonna make the rotation on over with that teleport pad as the Gold Fury gets pulled by the Death Dealers. Now, just decided to teleport over his Krusty's nuts. Now here's the Vamana pick making his way onto the map, as we were talking about. Midu's ultimate is out, and there comes the Dharmic Pillars as well. Vamana is here. Vamana is marching at you. They're 5 strong right now, this Odin's Headhunters team comp, and I feel like strong is the exact word I would use.
Yeah, and if you are Death Dealers, you have to just back up. Vamana is big right now, and I mean that figuratively and literally. That guy, you cannot let him get off to a start that he had last game. Like a level and a half up, no kills, no deaths. He's not done too much in the game yet, but you cannot let him get off on the road he was on last game, because Krusty's Nuts will take over the game like he did in game 2.
We said that this Death Dealers team comp is on the clock, and I think the Vamana just punched in, but they're not doing the Gold Fury. I feel like this just takes me back to game 2. What did this Vamana just rotate for?
He fantastic job of zoning the 4 team off, but if you're not going to do anything off of it, they didn't get the Gold Fury. They already lost the beacon. I think you're completely right. All it did was give Amaterasu some well-needed farm to get herself back in the game. They get both bastions and a tower. They're going to back with a ton of gold, and then they'll be able to be in the next fight because they haven't used the teleporter, and their TP's up in 80 seconds. So I don't think too much was accomplished. I think if your solo laner does rotate and the enemy solo just farms, you have to force something on the map, and they just didn't.
I think that's just straight up huge for the Odin's Headhunters team. They were 2k down, and now look, the game's completely evened out. And they're applying pressure back over here to the dual lane, recognizing that Aloydi does not have any mana. But here comes the rest of the team. Krusty's Nuts make the teleport in, looking to get a pickup over here. Up in the air is Mr. Nacho. Now they got to deal with that Vamana on the backline. Xenophonics here to peel for his team as well, popping that horrific onto my Lanniston. But Foosh is here, gets the final hit over on Aloydi, and now there goes the Ragnarok. Foosh expending the Aegis. Spirit of the Nine Winds ends up ripping through, and the members of the Death Dealers are trying to get away with their lives. Huge blink in though, and ends up getting the kill, baiting yourself just enough for that one.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I'm just a little better. That was a Lanston blinked in. He knew exactly what he had to do to turn that fight and insta-kill the Fender, and Fender just got a little overzealous. You cannot be attacking a Willix like that, especially because if Fenrir used an ability there, he just gets Gravity Search and dies anyways. So, he just gets cooked. He really cannot be chasing that.
Man, I gotta say, same thing though that the Odin's Headhunters were falling for. If I am the Death Dealers right there after that second pick especially, I'm screaming in comms, back, reset, heal up, go to gold, back, reset, heal up, go to pyro. One of the two, make the decision, but start doing objectives. Man, it just feels like these teams want to scrap.
And scrap they have. Death Dealers have come out on the top of every scrap. And now, because of a, sort of useless Vamana rotation, there's no lead for the Odin's Headhunters anymore. They've just scrapped their way back into the game, and now they're going to continue winning every fight and also get a lead off these.
Yeah, you got a 2-level lead in the jungle right now. Odin's Headhunters trying to pick up the Gold Fury under the Oracle Vision, realizing that they're unable to do so. A lot of members of the Death Dealers are available, and the teleport does come through. MyLanniston makes his way on over, and soon to follow might possibly be Sev. Xenophonics did just use that dash, is in a lot of danger, surrounded by 4 members of the Death Dealers. Gonna end up walking himself on out of there. Ravenward.
Huge Raven Ward. They got to see that all of Death Dealers are there except for Ama and Athena, which they already knew. And it looks like Krusty's Nuts might actually go down here. He has no ultimate available.
Couple horrifics are expended, and these 2 members can still use the teleport pad to get over and meet up with their team, making this a 5v4 over on the Gold Fury side. Athena makes the teleport on through, and now Amaterasu gets in as well. Medusa looking to box Thors, but then as soon as that Ama came through, he's like, no, get out.
Yeah, you do not want to be fighting the Soul Laner. You do not want to be leaping away from a Gravity Surge up, as, you know, Papa Nike's going to have to ult away, and it looks like Death Dealers are going to get their first big objective of the game. They're going to be getting the Gold Fury.
There it is. Finally seeing a little bit of a disparity here. It was 2K initially in favor of the Odin's Headhunters, even back out, but now, yes, we are 2K in favor of the Death Dealers, showing their stance here. One thing I did recognize right there is when the Fenrir used that Ragnarok defensively, immediately was a pre-beast from MyLanniston. I am thinking about that if I'm the Odin's Headhunters. I'm like, cool, I can get a jump on this guy, I can lock him down, I can use my Ragnarok on him for free, or we can just lock him down with Ganesha into a Spirit of the Nine Winds combo. You know, there's a lot of potential right now for this team to just eliminate a core member of this Death Dealers team comp.
Yeah, and one thing you see a lot of Fenders do when they have the unfortunate matchup into the Awilix is they go Blink, so you can Blink Ragnarok, and you don't expend a leap to sort of, you know, play this Gravity Surge game. Is he going to grab my leap? You know, you just Blink Ragnarok, you know, they're not ready for it because they're waiting for you to jump, and then you can sort of take advantage and get the Awilix off the map. So that's what I like to see him do during this time that he does have the Awilix and beats down for the next 60 seconds.
A little bit of a trade going on here. Solo over in the solo lane getting ganked, and over in the mid, that support getting ganked as well. Now Papa Nike trying to see if they could get some damage over onto MyLanniston, trying to get the Gravity Surge onto that Rag. Oh, well.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I'm a monster is does damage, needless to say. Just
That was Guzzy's tornado. The lingering effects from the tornado, like the damage over time, ended up killing MyLanniston there. Just sort of stepped in it for a little too long there, and both junglers going down to the mid laner is definitely unfortunate, but you know, not too beneficial for each team. But they're going to look to stage this tier 1 tower in mid lane, and Death Dealers are going to get it and sort of just back off here.
it's good taking up these objectives, and taking off this mid tower I think is something that should be done or focused on more so close to the 10-minute mark, if not earlier than the 10-minute mark if possible, because the amount of pressure that you can provide by opening up this tower, forcing the mid laner to no longer get safe farm. You know, you don't have the safety of your tier 1 tower. You got to walk all the way up. Look where the wave is going to be sitting up in the mid. Where do you go for safety, especially as a Kukulkan? To me, that's just immense, and I feel like it's extremely undervalued.
Undervalued it is. I mean, Kukulkan has been playing a pretty safe game, only dying 1 time so far, only a level down to Fushu's doing really well on the still today. I think, you know, you'd see him kill the Fender the first time with the Alma Monster, you see him hit the Fender the second time with the Alma Monster when he goes on MyLanniston. It's hard to catch a break if you're the Fender player here. You know, you're into an Awilix, it's already a bad matchup, and every time you do get in, you get Alma Monstered by Fush. He's just playing the time perfect. And
Oh yeah, Fush has Papa Nike's number. And unfortunately, over on the other side, it seems like the combination of Thors and Mr. Nacho have Aloydes' number. You know, something that's really funny is just the fact that both the Medusa and the Ganesha, this dual lane for the Odin's Headhunters, both can have their dashes caught. And that's exactly what happened right there as the Medusa tried dashing away and ended up eating the Athena just outright.
what do you do if you're Odin's head? Besides just try to get your farm elsewhere. And I mean,
Cry.
You know, you see Guzzle and you see Krusty's Nuts doing well to get in their farm. They're probably ahead with how the gold and the XP lead looks. The difference is all on the other characters, but it's like, what can they do? You know, Fenner's gone down 6 times, Medusa's gone down 5 times, Ganesh has gone down 4 times. Like, these two cannot win the game by themselves, even if they are ahead.
5?
These guys on Others have to play more careful and with each other.
Bit of a 5v5 grouping here going on in mid. No Pyromancer, no Beacon. Blink coming in from Atlantis and forcing the beads of Guzzy. Now a jump in, forces the Aegis as well. Rama goes up into the air, and there's the Ragnarok. There's the Astral Barrage. There's the Spirit of the Nine Winds. A lot of ultimates getting dropped right now. I'm a Monster goes up, finds one. Foosh gets one, gets another lockdown onto the Ganesha. It's 3 for 3 right now in this team fighting. A collapse over. Well, make that 4 for 3. Force doing his best to get away, but the Medusa is still alive, able to apply that damage. And who is this for mana? Force doing his best to survive. Might actually get a return pick if he plays this one. Does end up getting it. That is an ADC kill as well. 4 for 5 here. Krusty's Nuts might be able to get a tier 1 tower though.
That's the second time in this set where 9 people have died. It's just one man standing above the rest, and this time it ends up being Krusty's Nuts, and oh my goodness, that fight goes back and forth and trade for trade, and then to see Thors and, you know, the Medusa go down at the same time, it is truly tragic. What I must say is that the Medusa is putting out so much more damage than I thought this character could. I was a big Medusa hater when they picked it in the draft, but if you look at the damage charts right now, top damage 1425 or 14250, you know, on top of everyone else. You'd think it'd be the Rama, you know, with all their crit, and they have the upgraded Xi online as well. Like, you think the Rama would have so much more damage, but they do not.
It definitely feels like, first off, Aloy is on the back end of a lot of this, where he's just getting ganked constantly throughout the game. So, you know, when you're constantly fighting, I don't blame you for taking top damage. But I do agree. I am surprised to see them as Medusa where they are at. I do still feel like this Rama is going to outscale and is outscaling as is. You know, I want to see Mr. Nacho get active. I think that's a big thing. At the end of that, that's my takeaway.
Do you want to see him get active? It looks like both teams getting active on this Gold Fury here.
Don't go for mid lane over here, recognizing there's no relic. Okay, you know what? Just a lot. Needless to say, Ragnarok being used defensively. Astral Barrage goes up, misses all 3. Slow down with those ultimate shots. Dashing in, trying to get another pickup over here. Krusty's Nuts already expended the dash. Mr. Nacho seeing if they could get a little bit more off, but that's all they're going to get. It's a 3 for 2 trade right here around the Gold Fury, and now the Death Dealers are going to make their way on over there and pick up this Oni Fury for themselves.
And Foosh and Lanston are playing incredible, you know, on their picks. Really just like doing their best job of getting all their damage off. Obviously, my Lanston unfortunately goes down there, but they do get so much good on that fight as well. So it looks like they took a little too long getting the gold here, and they'll have to leave.
Extremely. Oh, yeah. Just that's all I can say. I think that's. I'm a monster just connecting with Papa Nike, trying to clear a camp. Unfortunate.
Yeah, Papa Nike has been behind a lot of the match. I respect them trying to clear that camp there, but that is not the time to be doing that. You cannot be doing that right in front of Foosh. He's been hitting those all game, and he's going to pick himself up another kill. 5-1 and 6 on the Scylla. Got the timeline on now, so he's going to be even harder to kill in these fights. Man, this is it's so tough because the Death Dealers have won every fight. I would say pretty handedly. Sometimes it's been like, you know, like back and forth, and only one person lives. But they've won every fight, but they really haven't gotten a lot. And I mean, Odin's Headhunters get that Gold Fury, and now Gold's essentially tied up. It's a little under $1,000, you know, and ahead of everyone. And so it's like, what do you do?
Pyromancer going down for the Death Dealers, and this Vamana is doing his best to get something over here. Spirit of the Nine Winds ends up ripping through, and two members of the Death Dealers marching the way on in. Astral Barrage goes up in the air. One connects, two connects. That is a pick over here for Mr. Najawine Lanniston. Ends up finding Krusty's Nuts over on the back line of the Death Dealers, and now there's only 3 members remaining for the Odin's Headhunters. One's over in duo lane, and oh, there goes that Fenrir's Beads pinging for the Pyro Bomb, making their way on over, unable to get it. Maybe we just go for the Fire Giant, though, as the Medusa isn't here.
They know Medusa is on the left side of the map, and Amaterasu is looking at the Cuckoo in mid lane. Ama does teleport over to the left side, which does allow for Cuckoo and Fender to be able to step up here. This Fire Giant is, well, from I thought, handily in Death Dealer's favor to, you know, almost subject to be stolen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it was as available for the Kukulkan to step up as he thought he could. My Lanniston lurking around nearby did end up using both the Blink and the Beads, so a little bit worried there, but the Kukulkan, on the other hand, used both the Beads and the Aegis. So, to be honest, that's a free pick come the next time you are able to, I guess, jump in on top of this Kukulkan. We saw it last time. He got the relics on this Kukulkan, and that was his immediate target. So my Lanniston is recognizing that and capitalizing off of it.
11, 4, and 8. Just getting so many kills on the map is my Lanniston. From, you know, level 2, you know, he's been getting these kills all over the map. And you did see them fall behind in farm a little bit from in like the early game, and especially in the mid game when they were up like 13 kills but down a grand in gold. But now it's looking like, you know, he's almost full build, almost got everything done, going for a Magi start at him, which I think is really smart, you know, into gods like Fenrir, into gods like Ganesh, who only really have one type of CC to lock you down. I think my Lanston's been doing such a good job at just picking his spots and getting the kills where they can, really just running the game since the start.
My Lanniston's going to be able to get that Magi's Cloak online like usually, and I think that's going to be immense for him. You know, so long as he can watch his positioning, he's not going to be interrupted on his engage, which is huge, because that's definitely what an Wheelix wants. But here we are, marching to the tier 2 tower over in the duo lane at the 28-minute mark. 5 members strong, with Fire Giant around all of their belts. No minion wave, because that gets deleted by a Kukulkan. So, this is going to be a little bit tough to siege into this. You know, it's only a 4K game right now. Tier 2 towers are easily defendable, especially with the team comp that the Odin's Headhunters have. Astral Barrage going up into the Krusty's Nuts is just marching down on the Amaterasu, but Guzzy ends up getting the kill. Fush expending both the Beads and the Aegis, and now Aloydi dashing in onto Thorstein. This is what I was worried about going for this tier 2 tower. Ragnarok ends up picking up my Lanniston, and the Spirit of the Nine Winds is still available. My Guzzy end up getting a second pickup on this fight. Only 3 members remaining. They do have Fire Giant. They are able to turn this Papa Nike. Probably was not prepared for that one, but Fush and Thors were.
And this beacon is a little greedy with all 5 members hovering around in this left jungle here. Fush gonna stand on it till the end, though. They do get the beacon, but as long as he makes it out with his life, I'd say it's a little worth it. But man, they're playing that one pretty close there. That Thor's gonna have ultimate available in about 30, 45
10
seconds.
years.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So he might be able to make it out here, but really well played on the Headhunters for sure. I mean, Amaterasu sort of starts to initiate the fight, and immediate response from the Dharmic Pillars just makes it so that they can't walk up, and Headhunters just kill him without expending too much. They didn't even expend the Spirit of the Nine Winds, and then smart job by Lanston to try to take a 1v1 against the Fender. That's what you want if you're a Willix. But my Lanston just goes down, Fender beads, Ragnarok gets, and he gets the Spirit of the Nine Winds, and Lanston's gone and gets nothing off of it.
Pyromancer going down for the Odin's Headhunters, able to get a little bit of something back off that fight. Only 2k down though. This is a very even game compared to our previous 2. Nothing up available other than this Gold Fury. No Fire Giant. We are seeing teams hover around this Gold Fury. A lot of vision up over on this side of the map as well. And one thing I am noticing from this game compared to the previous is the Vamana difference. You know, it felt like he was very willing to go in there, constantly had the pressure, wanted to jump in, go 24/7. I think the Death Dealers might have had the answer with this Amaterasu pickup.
Amaterasu such a good god at sort of just like stifling pressure. That's really what the god's job is to do, is just stifle pressure, stay, a solid even, or even a level a half behind is totally fine. And then they turn it up once it gets to the later stages of the game. I'd like to see the Ama get a little more active in these fights. I think it was smart to start off the last fight, with your dazzling offensive, but just a beautiful Dharmic Pillars to shut that down from Xeno Phoenix. But I think I'd just like to see him get a little more active on the carries of Odin's Headhunters, and you would see just like how good this character can be.
I don't think you dash in right there. Aloydi dashing into 5 members. The Fenrir's not here. Mr. Nacho secures that one with the Astral Barrage. Now Krusty's Nuts is in on the back line of the Death Dealers, eating that I'm a Monster. Athena ult comes ripping through Krusty's Nuts, getting shredded down by this Rama. And Pop and Nike jumping on in now as well. That's 3 kills for Mr. Nacho, 3 kills for the Death Dealers. Odin's Hunters, only 2 remaining. They do have the Spirit of the Nine Winds available. Can maybe get a nice pick here to maybe get something off the map. Xenophonics turning in. Xenophonics going to be the next one to fall. That is an unofficial quadra kill for Mr. Nacho right now. Tier 2 tower going down, dashing in is the members of the Death Dealers. Root is good, forcing the relics of this Kukul Khan. The Death Dealers are putting down the gas pedal right now. What a fight.
Yeah, that Sikkim from Foosh was crazy. Just the 3's in, teleports in, gets the Sikkim to force both relics, and Kazi is present both those relics there every time. Holy crap, that was a nuts play. And really just heads up from the Death Dealers. They see that Odin's Headhunters are walking through mid lane with their head in the clouds. Fenrir is not there. They immediately engage, get a free kill, and then Headhunters fight into it, which I think really wasn't the play there. They really just had to back off, once that first pick does happen, but they decide to fight into it, and Death Dealers are going to take that every day, and they clean up really nicely and get themselves a Fire Giant.
You're saying walking through mid lane with their head in the clouds, but it really felt like it was Aloydi that entire time with the head in the clouds on this Medusa pick, dashing into 5 members of the Death Dealers on this Medusa with his Fenrir over in solo lane on the map. You can see that kind of stuff. They can see that kind of stuff. It just didn't seem right. There's no real way of putting it. It just didn't seem right at all. Maybe a little bit of impatience, something. I don't know.
And Aloydi, props to them. Game 1 and Game 2, they played fantastic both games. It's rare to see like a mistake like that from them. But I mean, you're on a Medusa. This character has no really like good escape potential. As a character like Hachiman from Game 1, that's going to happen. I mean, if your dash is down, you are just a dead character. Death Dealers have exploited that for the entire game, bringing Medusa to 8 deaths, at 30 minutes. So
a little bit of a 6, right? A little bit of a 6K disparity here at the 34-minute mark. EFG around 5 members of the Death Dealers as they are looking to make their Phoenix Sieges happen. Now it looks like a nice grouping though from both of these two teams. A really good defense potential though from the Odin's Headhunters. I would not shy away from that in the slightest. Mana getting pinged out over on the side. There is the Dharmic Pillars. This Phoenix getting absolutely shredded down. One more hit will do it, but they're not able to close the gap. I'm a Monster going up, but so does Avamana ultimate. Fenrir, meanwhile, on the back line over onto my Lanniston goes up. Gravity Surge is good, forcing the beads of the Fenrir. Papa Nike jumps out. Oh! The blink from the Astral Barrage just gets him away. That was a dead Fenrir. The Ragnarok is good to get him away. Aloydi ends up finding Thors, but the Phoenix ultimately goes down.
Yeah, Death Dealers get the Phoenix, but they're pretty lucky to get that Phoenix and get nothing off that. I mean, if you look at Xeno, he doesn't have his upgraded starter yet. He's just got the Benevolence. If he had something like a Heroism, that siege is so much harder for Death Dealers, on that Athena. If they taunt anyone, that Heroism gives them a huge shield, and it's so much harder to get that Phoenix. First of all, he's got to get that upgraded as soon as possible. I think support should be upgrading that right at 15. And second of all, Death Dealers have to be a little more wary of like the power spikes of the Headhunters.
Getting a Phoenix all for your support, not a bad trade, but here at the 35-minute mark, probably not too good of a trade. Obviously hoping to get a little bit more for losing a little bit less. I think there's a lot of just all-in potential from these teams,
Mhm.
whether it be here in the Canes division, down in the Walker division. They feel like, you know, it's all or nothing right now. But if we watched a lot over at Smite World Championship, especially, there were moments where you had teams who would just walk in, get an auto attack off with this wave, walk
yeah.
in, get one auto attack off with this wave, 1-2 auto attacks off, you know, just step up and just get some poke off onto this bird. You know, it's not something that you need to force. But if
Yeah.
you're forcing your position by just being present, being relevant, you know, you're not going in too deep, you're just getting that damage off. Eventually, that Phoenix is going to go down, or it's going to be low enough to where you can make that all-in call where you're not fighting into that bird. Now, you got fire minions pouring up over on the soul lane side. The Athena is back. Thor's grouping up with his team. Tier 2 tower goes down in the dual lane, and the Death Dealers, 5 strong, 4 with the EFG this time, marching towards this dual lane Phoenix.
It's still no upgraded starter from Xeno. I mean, the upgraded starters are so good on support. He really does have to get the heroism on, and soon before Death Dealers decide to. Oh, there we go. Perfect. He heard me. He heard me, guys. He heard me. He got it.
Can we ban
Death
him
Dealers.
for being in chat?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, and Death Dealers, they're gonna get this Oni Fury, which is smart. It's gonna give them a lot of pressure in each lane, and they're probably gonna go look over to Fire next. But I like both teams' chances in this 5v5. I don't think anyone's too far out of it to lose this.
If I do, the problem is if I'm Odin's Headhunters right now, I need to push up that dual lane wave. If that does not get pushed up far enough, which it looks like it's not going to, that Oni wave, which is marching down as we speak, is going to be applying pressure to this Phoenix, and that's exactly what the Death Dealers want. Oni fire wave over in the soul lane, gonna be kind of irrelevant with a little bit of a grouping. However, that wave over in the dual lane, I feel like is going to be a little bit impactful on this Phoenix, allowing somebody, well, I'm sorry, not allowing, forcing somebody to go back, allowing them to open up an opportunity to pull this Fire Giant.
Yeah, I think if you're Death Dealers, you got to pull it while this wave is still alive here. You have to force the enemy team to make a decision, because once you force the enemy team to make a decision, your game is just so much easier. And that's really one big thing I think I see a lot of players, or a lot of teams sort of mess up, and Death Dealers doing just that.
Here comes the pickup, getting it absolutely shredded. Raven Ward over the top just to let you know that it's getting done. EFG going down around 5 members. Oh, the Death Dealers now marching their way over to the mid lane. That solo lane Phoenix is going to be respawning relatively soon, and it looks like they're going to make their way that way instead. See if they could catch somebody out. The Vamana's still back and getting caught in animation. Buddy was in the buy menu, forced to ultimate, and that's 2 ultimates expended right now for the Odin's Headhunters. Dharmic Pillars down, the Vamana ult down. This is huge for the Death Dealers. They used nothing for that.
Yeah, 1 taunt for 2 ultimates is pretty good. Athena, pretty good. And then the blink taunt from Thor, and that's gonna steal the. Oh, Vamana actually lives that fight, and they're looking for more.
Oh! Where'd his HP go? Papa Nike looking for a little bit of a Ragnarok, end up getting popped himself by Foosh on that I'm a Monster. Now Death Dealers marching the way into the Titan room of the Odin's Headhunters, getting it down to about half, getting it down to a quarter, getting it down to 5%. Gazi doing is what he can, but it's not enough. Death Dealers losing game 1, make the comeback, taking game 2, taking game 3, taking your first Canes division set here in season 3 of the Frank's retirement home.
Wow. That was a powerful game from Death Dealers. I think from minute 1, they were doing so much to like get these kills. Early, but they were struggling in the farm department. But you never really saw any capitalization from the Oni's Headhunters gold lead that they had. You weren't seeing them fight off spikes or anything like that. So what happened was Death Dealers were winning fights all game, and then the game and gold leads all evened up, and Death Dealers just sort of kept winning every fight and then won the game. It's as simple as that. I think you saw huge performance from my Lanston, huge performance from Thors on the Athena was huge, and Foosh saving his backliners every fight is just they put on a clinic there, and Death Dealers certainly deserved the win in that game.
Yeah, my Lanston did a phenomenal job getting picks. Mr. Nacho, I felt like had a little bit more presence coming here into the mid to late game, getting up into those ultimates, getting the picks off that Arama wants to do when his team is diving. But when I'm looking at these games, especially these past 2 games, holy hell, for lack of better words, I'm saying Thorson and Foosh. You know, I'm seeing these two just be an absolute menace, whether it be the Ares Kukulkan in game number 2 or this Athena and Scylla combination here in game number 3. Whether they're combining together or whether they're just doing their own thing, it felt like each one had a very, very defining presence, and I really liked that from these two. And I'm looking forward to see what happens throughout the rest of the season with them. When I look over on the opposite end, man, this Fenrir felt like he was just kind of not there, you know, and whether it be the fact that, yes, you have the Wheelix counter pick into you, that's something, but it felt like every time I saw a Ragnarok, it was getting used defensively or it was getting used on an Athena, you know, who already got her entire engage off for Mr. Nacho's DPS or Foosh's DPS to just kind of connect to whoever they wanted to, and now this Fenrir is trying to pull somebody to nothing. So that tied in with the amount of pressure that got applied into dual lane very early. It felt like good synergy from the Death Dealers here in game number 3. It felt way more commanding than it did in game number 2, and I'm really happy to see that.
No, completely agree. I think the Death Dealers, they drafted well. They played the comp that they wanted to play really well, and I think their head was in the game all 3 games at every moment. Even game 1 where it was sort of stompy, and the beginning of game 2 where it was really stompy. You know, they kept their heads in it, and they kept their composure ready, and they were always ready to win the game when they needed to in those final 2 games that they took home.
That does put us away here in game number 3 in our very first Canes division set here at Frank's Retirement Home. What a season opener. Absolutely. So, unless you have any other closing remarks, I think that's going to do it for us here, week 1 of season 3. You had me, Zach Vexel, Divine Ape. Thank you very much for coming out, doing this with me, and thank you very much to Wolfie as well. Wolfie Pup putting on a phenomenal spectate. Really appreciate the both of you guys. Really appreciate everybody who came out. We have today's Friday, matchups tomorrow, Saturday, 8 o'clock, right? Oh, don't quote me on that schedule. Let me double check with you guys. Saturday, 12 p.m. over at noon, guys. We have a Walker matchup, the Mystic Sea Serpents versus the Cyberpunk Otters. Make sure you are there. We look forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your nights.